Welcome to this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters, the podcast where we chart the cinematic legacy of the classic monsters. I'm John Campbell. With me, as always, Brendan Jones.
John.
Yes.
I have something really embarrassing I need to get off my chest.
Uh-oh.
I didn't have the money to buy tickets to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Phantom of the Opera. I know that's what we were covering.
Oh.
But it's still such a pricey ticket.
It still is.
I mean, I've listened to the soundtrack plenty of times. I had it on cassette back in the day. I've got it. I had it on CD. Now it's just in my iTunes. So, I mean, we can talk about that, but I was not able to go to the show.
Well, you're in luck, because actually neither was I. So I hope you did what I did without any prompting, which is you watched 1989's Phantom of the Opera, starring Robert Englund.
The one with Robert Englund?
Robert
Englund.
Englund.
Of course.
Yeah. I watch it every night. It's what I go to bed to.
It's my comfort food.
Yeah.
And you know, the world is so messed up these days. All I need is some Robert Englund with some goopy crap on his face saying, Christy. That's all I need.
Yeah. To talk about this cinematic classic with both of us, claiming this one early. This was late in the season, but claimed very early in the season by our good friend Elliott Lewis.
Yeah. As I said to John in the message, I'm your boyfriend now, Christine.
Yes. I know. I that killed me when you said that, because it's so perfect.
It's so perfect, but at the same time, now having watched it, I like many people who reviewed it at the time, I think did it a huge disservice.
Yes.
Because fucking every review from the time was like, this isn't anything like Nightmare on Elm Street. It's like, yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, duh.
I mean, in some place, the kills are a little Freddy. His one-liners are.
Yeah,
they
the one-liners.
And I will say, those are the ones
Yeah.
that really were like, well, I don't know that we needed that.
I don't know that we needed that. I will say I disagree with you on the actual kills themselves.
No.
I think a lot of them were a little uninspired. There's one that's really good to me, and the rest of them.
I agree with that. But it is the Freddy one. Although there is one that I do fucking love in it.
I think that these are and the critics did do a disservice, but all of this is understandable. The problem is that you have a horror icon slipping into a different role that has surface similarities, and therefore what you're expecting is you want Gaston Leroux's Nightmare on Elm Street, which you're not going to get. You're going to get a Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah. It's still such a good idea, though. I wish someone would do it.
Well, sure. I mean, but what impressed me, or what interested me with this, because on the whole, this is weaker than a Friday the 13th. Sorry, a Freddy Krueger movie. This is weaker than a Nightmare movie, depending on the Nightmare movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say, at least on the good ones. This is definitely sales way past Nightmare 2.
I was literally about to say it's better than 2, at least.
But if you take this as a Phantom of the Opera movie, which it is, and if you take this as just a horror movie from 1989, it's not bad.
I actually really enjoy it. I watched this last night, and I found myself pretty into it. Like I was digging it. It's definitely
didn't bog me down at any point. And yes, it maybe could have gone. I do know it got toned down from an X rating for some of the violence.
Yeah,
but it. Talk about something that's almost there, because the concept isn't. They've supernatural the story, which is not a supernatural story at all, but they've added that, and you do have a fine character actor in the lead
who is going for it like nobody's business. He is thrilled to be here.
Yeah. This is not phoned in, and he's not repeating Freddy.
No,
clearly not.
In fact, he really, and I will continue to interject throughout the show with these comments, because I did watch the Shout Factory documentary that's on their Blu-ray. But he really saw this as his opportunity to break away from Freddy. This was going to be the thing that proves what a good actor he is. And then he was pretty
And
disappointed when the studio really promoted it as a Freddy movie, basically.
Yeah.
Which that makes sense. I mean,
he was like, "Oh no, guys."
They knew that's what would get butts in seats.
Yeah.
Is
studio
like
did that to Wes Craven with Deadly Friend too. Neither of them could escape it.
No, it's just that movie is so iconic. That it's interesting. You see Wes Craven eventually return to it with New Nightmare and kind of make a movie about being unable to escape it, which is someday we'll get to New Nightmare when we do Meet the Slashers. But
whenever that movie comes up, it's whether or not you liked it, New Nightmare. I got to say, to this day, I still love the concept.
Yeah,
and talk about something that again almost works. I thought that was a brilliant twist, and every now and then, it's really just exactly what you want. And then I don't know. But finally, we got to see Heather Langenkamp's personal life on the big screen, which was all I ever dreamed of.
she's better in that.
What's
than
Heather
she
like?
is in,
What's her life like?
She's better in that than she is in the first Nightmare.
It's true.
Yeah.
Talking of female leads of horror
Yes.
films that maybe aren't the best actresses in general, but are also iconic. Jill Schoelen in this movie. And she's pretty good.
Yeah.
She's trying very much.
I mean, I think,
But again, it's like Stepfather, Chopping Mall. I mean,
Oh, don't forget Cutting Class.
Cutting Class. Sorry, not Chopping Mall.
You were like a second ahead of me on that, Elliot. I was about to say, don't forget Cutting Class, because
Cutting Class is what I meant.
I do
when
have
I
some
said
affection for Cutting Class.
But Jill Schoelen, I mean, I'm like, she earned her place. She's just not a great actor, but it's nice to see, like, right, she's a fine, replacement for what you'd think of Christine Daae.
Yeah.
And I thought she did a pretty good job with the lip syncing.
That was one of the funniest things in the documentaries. They go, she worked so hard on that singing. She practiced every day. And then it's just like beat. Of course, we were always going to replace her voice. But still, she really worked hard on it. Like, it's going like, oh man, way to complete. We never even considered using her, but she trained a lot.
It looks fine.
It does.
You believe that Christine is probably actually singing.
I mean, watching the movie, I didn't think about like this looks bad or something, or this isn't real.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if she had actually done the singing, but it wasn't a like, who did the singing on this?
Yeah.
The match was also pretty good, as in the actual vocal double is in the same range, has a lot of the same quality. So it was like, good job. Good job, Menachem Golan, which is something I never thought I'd say.
Okay, that was what surprised me. I did not know this going into this movie until I started it up, and I, because over on my other podcast, The Action Shelf, we talk a lot about the great films of canon, the Golan and Globus movies, and now here, this movie is post breakup of the Canon Film Group.
Yeah, the I think that is his company that comes up at the very beginning.
21st Century Studios. In fact, the failure of this movie ended 21st Century Studios. So this
single-handedly destroyed the company.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. This bankrupted Golan there.
For a Golan film, they spent some money. I was impressed, even though I know that this is not a major studio release. And yes, every now and then the backlot is like, backlot! But generally speaking, I'm looking at it going, look at the extras. Look at the opera house. I was like, this is...
Okay. Here
spent a little bit of money.
Well, they didn't spend as much money as you think. And that comes from my favorite tidbit from the documentary that I went, oh, that's a Menachem Golan story. So I think the year before this, he had shot Three Penny Opera. Roger Daltrey.
He reused footage.
Well, no, he reused the sets. He goes,
reused
because he goes, we've spent all this money on the sets, and coincidentally, he had just heard Phantom of the Opera had come into public domain. He goes, why, that's rather popular, and a quick change of a few things, we can set it in London, and these sets can get another go.
I was wondering why that was set in London. That's good.
It's all just because we've already built 1800s London sets, and they're in Bulgaria, of course, or wherever in actuality.
Well, I actually thought that they had done it for a different reason. The reason I thought was just so they wouldn't have to dance around, like, because we have a bookend, set up in the modern day. But I thought they were
Which is
just
one of the
dancing around.
weirdest
Why aren't
parts
the
of this
French
movie.
people speaking in French?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the bookends though were a later addition from what I read. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah, okay.
That makes sense.
Because they were trying to set up a sequel.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
They wrote the sequel. Another
Yeah,
great
it was written and then never performed, much like Eric Dressler's opera Don Juan Triumphant.
Robert Englund talks about it. It's a shame. It's a shame. He goes, that script was beautiful. That sequel script was amazing. The Phantom of Manhattan was to be the title of it.
And what was the subtitle? It was like Evil in the Sewer or some shit.
Something like
that,
yeah.
The
great.
title was bad.
He was
but-
living in an abandoned subway car under the thing, and he discovers a street performer with a beautiful voice. And that apparently, according to the trivia on IMDb, a lot of the material from that was reused in another Robert Englund movie called Dance Macabre.
Macabre.
Yeah, I've never seen that one. I now want to see that one. It sounds like it is sort of Phantom of the Opera, except he's a dance like choreographer instead of a opera singer, but he's still like.
Well, this actually, that echoes the was it the Universal?
Yes,
The Universal Phantom. They wrote a sequel.
they did, and then they ended up
and
making it
they changed some things about it, and actually did film it as a separate film.
Now, I will say this: compared to that, this thing is a lot more fun because the Universal one was shockingly boring.
Yeah, it was boring, even though, of
This
course,
one
Claude
is-
Rains is amazing.
Claude
but
Rains is amazing. This one is many things, but boring it is not ever.
Another thing that impressed me was, and since you saw the documentary, you'll have to explain.
Yeah.
I'll finish my bit, but you'll have to explain I've never seen an opening credit like it, which is based on the screenplay by blah blah blah, and then the next credit was screenplay by someone else.
Yeah.
I've never seen
Yes.
a based on a screenplay.
Yeah.
But then this is the guy who wrote this screenplay.
Right.
What the fuck?
Right.
But anyway, so the whole thing of I was kind of impressed that even though they're playing fast and loose and they obviously saw Phantom of the Paradise, because putting the Faust story inside of Phantom of the Opera, including a deal with the devil and
The screenwriter
supernatural
does
stuff.
name check Phantom of the Paradise in the documentary.
I could tell. I was like, okay, you clearly got that idea.
Well, we
from
love
there,
that
but-
movie. We love that movie.
Yeah, I love Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah.
But what's impressive to me is that with all the changes they make and the weirdness, and of course the upping of the body count and the it's no longer so implied sexuality of the Phantom, this movie essentially hits all of the beats. It really did. I was like going, okay, because even the Universal one, which was supposed to be a high-end film, they changed so much of the plot. And you're like, oh, he's her father, and he's and this is how he got disfigured, and oh god, this makes no sense.
Was that the one
This
where
thing
it was
actually
a-
follows Gaston Leroux's novel pretty much beat for beat.
Was,
it was like, that's where that happens. Here's Carlotta. Here's this thing, and da da da. I mean, there's no Viscount boyfriend now. He's
Raoul
one of the theater.
Yishangyi.
Yeah.
Yes, the
There you
Vicomte de Chagny.
Instead, he's kind of a pretty. The boyfriend in this is a kind of nebulous. He's part of the ownership of the opera.
Yeah, like he's one of the partners in the opera
Well, in the
house.
novel, there are, and of course in the musical, there are two co-owners of the opera that they've just inherited it and blah blah blah. But they just decided, let's not have a royalty guy boyfriend. Instead, he's just one of the theater owners.
He still does like all the same stuff Raoul does.
Except for he fucking dies.
Except for he fucking
Well,
dies. Spoiler alert, he gets set the fuck on fire.
Welcome to this
actually, he was set on fire by cosmic rays, and just he develops the power to stretch.
Yeah, well, that's what they cut out the post-credit scene where you see his arm stretch out as he raises up.
Come up out of the sewer,
Dun, dun, dun.
out of the manhole.
Yeah. That was also something the screenwriter said. Is he said, I looked at no previous versions. I had no interest in looking at the other versions of the movie. I went back to the book. That was what I tried to adapt. And that was also something Englund was big on, because he goes, people forget because of the musical and stuff, but the book is a horror story. And he said, I wanted to show all those horror fans out there that Phantom's pretty badass, man.
Well, the story of the Phantom, as the reason we still talk about it and the reason there have been so many versions is you can interpret that so many ways. Just like with Dracula.
Yeah.
Dracula gets turned into pure horror. It gets turned into forbidden, tragic romance. It gets spun in so many different ways you can go with it. And it's the same with the Phantom. You can focus on the love story. You can focus on the horror. You do need to have a clear point. The musical does a pretty good job with the horror, but clearly it's about the love story and it's sweeping and big. And but you can go a lot of different ways. This one went with horror mixed with some devil.
A little bit of devil
mixed
in
with
there,
some super strength and maybe teleportation.
Yeah.
And things.
Yeah.
Wow.
It is unclear whether he has weird teleport powers or the
He's
city
just
of London
Batman.
is so interconnected.
I mean, one of my notes is he goes full Batman.
He does.
Yeah. In what is one of my favorite scenes, just because it does feel like something out of a comic book. And you talk about it feeling Darkman-y.
Very Darkman-y.
Very Darkman-y. So I'll have lots of tidbits from the documentary because there's a lot in there.
Love it.
And they interviewed pretty much everybody you'd want to talk to aside from Bill Nighy and Molly Shannon, who have small roles in this and go on to be famous.
Oh, yeah, we should make it clear to our listeners who probably have their bingo cards at home. If you have the box on your bingo card, a movie with Bill Nighy and Molly Shannon co-starring, go ahead and mark that off.
Yeah,
because we finally got there.
We can finally mark that off. It was coming.
Weird that you put it on your bingo card in the first place, but
Bill
Nighy and Molly Shannon. I mean, this is, if I saw this at all, I saw it in chunks on cable years ago. And didn't remember too much about it. So this was almost like my first time watching it, and I was like going, holy shit, I had just forgotten. When I see Molly Shannon in her 20s in this, I'm like, what? Oh my god!
This is her first ever on-screen role in anything. So
crazy, and she does a fine job with her small part.
She does. I mean, she was always great, but I mean, she's several years out from SNL at this, probably 7 or 8 years out from SNL here. So we got to talk about. The other thing I was going to say is when you talk about seeing it in chunks on cable, the other thing that's crazy about this movie is how it's nowhere.
It's
currently
nowhere.
Not even when you say for free. Like in terms of digital, you can't even pay to rent this anywhere.
No,
it's true. I was this close to torrenting it, which I didn't want to do. Then I found it streaming on a site, and then I was like, okay, it was tough.
It's listed on Amazon, but it's like this isn't available in your area. It's listed on Vudu, but it's not available to watch.
I bet it has something to do with legal problems with whatever Golan, because Golan's and Globus, both their output, I'm sure they're legal snags all over the place. And when this folded, this person bought the company, they still have the rights, and you don't. Blah blah blah. I bet. Was it Shout Factory that did yours?
Yes, indeed,
John.
They're horror.
So they must
Scream,
have. I don't know. They must have tracked that stuff down and got it all worked out.
Well, they're good
because I don't
stuff
think
like
it's
that.
been available outside of VHS.
There was a DVD release from MGM at some point, but I don't know how they ended up with it, and I don't know who technically owns because Shout doesn't. They work with companies,
right,
to do that. Or in this case, I'm sorry, Scream Factory, which is their horror.
Scream Factory, their horror thing. Well, I'm just glad that they spent the time and effort to clean it up.
They did a nice job.
So
I
pretty.
I think the version you guys saw, because I think the only Blu-ray version is the Shout one. So I think you guys also watched the same copy that I did.
Yeah,
which looked really nice.
One of the reviews of this thing that I saw on Wikipedia, which was a contemporary review, sums it up pretty well. It said competently if flatly directed. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It looks pretty good. There are some shots that are quite good, but again, I do see that this is a middle ground effort with some top tier talent.
This comes to us from director Dwight H. Little, who's coming off of I don't know how true this was, but Robert Englund, he had just done Halloween 4, and he talked about Robert Englund goes, that movie was huge. Everybody wanted a piece of this guy. I'm telling you, it's like he goes. The word was he's the new Spielberg. And I'm like, oh, was that really the word Bob, or is that how you remember it?
I think that's probably being very generous, and probably that kind of buzz was only within genre filmmaking.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. He did Halloween 4. He did do an episode of Freddy's Nightmares, the Nightmare on Elm Street weird anthology show. And then he goes on from this to direct Marked for Death with Steven Seagal, Rapid Fire, which is a future episode of The Action Shelf with Brandon Lee, Free Willy 2: The Adventure Home, Murder at 1600, which is kind of a bigger movie than the other stuff.
Sure.
Then he goes on to mostly do TV. He goes and directed a fair amount of Millennium and The X-Files and The Practice, 24, and that's where he continues to work to this day.
So he wasn't quite the next Spielberg.
No, I mean, he is but like this movie, like you're talking about, he is a competent working director who has not been out of work since the mid-'80s and continues to direct major network TV to this day. So he's a and this plays like a workman director's work, where it's like,
right.
It's
and
all
I will say this,
decent. There's no problems here.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Is like at no point was I embarrassed for the people in this movie. It's not a great film, but I was sitting there going, none of them, even Bill Nye and so forth, there's nothing to be ashamed of here. It's just a movie that didn't hit. It has problems, but it's not an embarrassment. Which compared to some of the stuff we've watched,
I was going to say, we've watched 4 Howlings now, so anything appears to be competent. And
we've got 4 more to go.
Yeah, I think we've got. I think we do have 4 more to go. I think there are 8. Yeah.
Jeez. I have Tubi, right? So I've watched a fair amount of really bad horror movies, especially coming right out of being unemployed for 5 months. And I don't know if it's that or like, not every movie. I was talking with a friend about this. Not every movie has to be a 10.
No. I like a bad movie.
Not every movie has to be a 10.
Yeah.
And if it's not a 10, it doesn't just be like, oh, this is a bad movie. It's so funny. Films like Phantom of the Opera, 1989. Mm-hmm. Films like fucking Grave Encounters was the example that I was using with him.
Sure.
It was like Grave Encounters. It's not like groundbreaking or anything, but there's some cool stuff in it. It's a pretty middling horror movie, so give it a watch. It's a pretty good one to watch.
I'm sure I've mentioned this term before, but the Griffin and David over at the great film podcast Blank Check have a term for these kind of movies, which they call a gentleman's 6. Where it is just like these are totally watchable, kind of forgettable, but competent, decent, and enjoyable films.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that's a perfect description of this movie. And based on the recent crop of movies we've watched, Brendan, this thing is a gentleman's 6 that played like a 10 to me.
It really did. I mean, obviously
I was enthralled last night watching.
We're also not just watching the movies we do for the podcast. So we both, of course, absorb lots of cinema and even, of course, great television that has become the new cinema.
It's true.
And so there's stuff that feeds the soul, but neither of us, and I'm including you, Elliott, as well, because you're of the same mind. We're not snobs. I mean, I like just to be entertained, and sometimes with lower, aiming stuff that you go, it's okay for what it is. I had a fun time with it, and I'm not going to sit there going, time for a rewrite. I can let a lot of things go, which is surprising to many people because of how nitpicky I can be. But that's usually when I'm just really enamored of source material or something that got messed with. If it's just something that they set out to, me and my friends made a sci-fi movie and it's not great, but here it is, then I'm like, I'm down for it. Let's watch this thing. And as long as I'm not bored, I'm very happy to watch.
Similar to what we said about the Roger Corman Fantastic Four, which I don't even know. We may not have been recording.
No, it was pre-recorded.
It was pre-recorded. But similar, but in this movie, I will say this is very much the case. Earnestness goes a long way for me too. When you can, even if the resources are limited, when you can see people really trying, and I do like. Robert Englund is still so enamored of this movie on the documentary. I think because he really wanted to do this and really put a lot into it, and that does show. I think a lot of it is people shouldn't be embarrassed by this because they are really trying. Everybody's clearly bringing their A game to this. What, like I said, I mean, this is ultimately, and I think a lot of it has to do with the fact it was produced by Menachem Golan, is a B schlock horror movie, but it is pretty good by B schlock horror standards.
Yes, this is they got all pretty. This is a prettified B schlock horror movie.
As Robert Englund says in the documentary, it was my opportunity to do something with class. And I go,
comparatively, absolutely,
yeah. But I'm like, oh, yeah. But also as the show's resident gorehound, I was very satisfied by this film as well too, because my God, and I want to see the cut that was going to get an X rating, because I like all the makeup guys on the documentary going, oh, some of the stuff was just gorgeous that we did. Oh, you wouldn't believe some of the stuff we came up with on this.
And it's kind of wild to me too, reading that it got taken down from an X, because like it's not even like that gory. Like, I didn't think it was even really that bad. And right, and maybe it's just
we're all broken. We're all three of us are incredibly broken.
There's that. There's 2 beheadings, and the guy who gets skinned. The guy who gets skinned confused me simply because I didn't. I mean, I like his death, and I guess that's Joseph. Joseph Bouquet in the book and the musical, but in this thing he gets skinned and put in Carlotta's closet. She finds him. That was a good screenwritery thing. That's how she loses her voice, is that she's so horrified. Yeah, she screams her voice away. I mean, but
I believe it.
Yeah, I would believe it too. But how is he still alive? That confused me. I was like going, dude. He looked like he got gutted on the way up.
Yes, it did.
And then I'm like, then he gets skinned and put in the closet. Well, now he's like,
we'll talk about it. But that was when I thought was the first inclination of a supernatural thing. I thought, oh my God, he's undead or something. When his eyes opened up, because I thought, oh, he's definitely. I mean, yeah, he's. But let's talk about this poster, because this will indicate fully what we're talking about with the unfortunate marketing of this movie.
Yeah.
Really not good on the marketing at all. And I think is a big reason, especially on the documentary, a lot of the people involved in the film really blame the marketing for the failure of this movie. So they're making it. I mean, right off the bat, if I just passed this in the theater quick, I'd go, oh, new Freddy movie's out. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the thing. The Phantom's makeup, and it's inconsistent just because we see it in lots of different stages, but essentially his horror face is certainly grotesque, but it doesn't cover his entire face until kind of the very end.
Right.
And it doesn't look like Freddy Krueger. On this poster, they essentially have taken the Freddy makeup because it's bright red. It looks more burned.
Like burns,
He's even got the missing ear.
He's got the missing ear. Well, he has the missing ear in this movie too. He pulls his ear off.
That's true, but it doesn't read the same way as Freddy's burned ear.
No.
And yes, the Phantom's hat that he has is a big floppy shadowy hat. So here it could almost be mistaken for Freddy's.
I will say though, they are skirting the line of getting a new line to soothe.
The only giveaway it's Phantom is that he is pulling down the skull face, that
he only wears once in the movie
face.
At the masquerade. Yeah. But they're making it seem like that's going to be his whole bit in the movie. And he's got the red leather glove of that same outfit.
Yeah. So it says Robert Englund was Freddy.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that Freddy is in such big letters on this thing.
Yes.
I mean, Mike, how I can't imagine. He's pretty nice on the documentary, Robert Englund, but I had to imagine this poster. He was like, fuck off, man.
He had no say in this, and I'm sure it pissed him off.
I'm sure it was, because how demeaning to him as an actor. It's like, the guy who does one thing is going to try something else.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now he's the Phantom of the Opera, the motion picture.
The motion picture, they probably had to put there simply, but that's true. It goes, A New Nightmare. But I think they had to put the motion picture in there simply because the only reason that this existed, besides the fact they had those sets left over, was Andrew Lloyd Webber's musical, which is why we were doing 2 Phantom of the Opera movies in a row, then a break for one, and then another Phantom of the Opera movie. Yes. Is that in the late 80s?
It's a lot of Phantom coming up for us here.
That musical of course, was huge.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I still love it for all its syntho cheesiness.
Yeah.
But so of course people were trying to cash in. But here they're having to let you know that don't worry, Freddie will not be singing Music of the Night.
Though I would have loved it. Freddie did put out an album though, so it wouldn't have been completely out of character. Okay, here's the thing in the trivia. The disclaimer at the end reads, "This motion picture is not associated with any current or prior stage play or motion picture of the same title."
Yeah, there you go.
Just let you know. And also, I mean, like, I think it does have to do with, as they're talking about, the novel has become public domain. The musical is a huge hit, and they all make it very clear in the documentary. They go, "Oh, we all made a point of not seeing the musical. We didn't want to be influenced." The composer of this movie talks about, "I really made a point not to see it because I did not want it to sound like that, to even inadvertently be influenced by it." And it does. I mean, it doesn't. There's parallels that I feel like just by doing this subject matter, there's there, but
yeah,
true. But there's at least a three-note refrain in the one piece of music we hear from Don Juan Triumphant that it doesn't sound like the music in Lloyd Webber's musical that is supposed to be Don Juan Triumphant, but it does sound like Lloyd Webber music from Phantom of the Opera. I was sitting there going, "Oh, you may say that you didn't," but there's a little refrain. I'm like going, "Oh no, that is a taste. That is probably as much as he was legally allowed to do, and skirt it." But I think that there's that little nod. I'm just saying. I kept hearing it. I was like going, yeah, no, that's... Mm-hmm.
Well, he'll fight you to the death on that, apparently. And he's an elderly gentleman, so you'd actually probably win that fight. But
yes!
But how would you feel?
Yeah.
Pretty good. I've never won a fight in my life.
Misha Siegel, who's the...
Bring it on, Misha!
Yeah, who is the composer of this movie. Still working to
Misha,
this day, man.
I'll meet you at the bike racks after school.
He's the man behind many a Menachem Golan produced venture.
But I do think that that the score was fine for this.
Yeah.
It was
he talks about, he goes, "Oh, to this day, I still get people requesting the sheet music for Don Juan Triumphant, that if I could send that to them somehow." Because as Englund is very proud to say, this movie does have apparently a rabid cult fan base. Because as he says,
I believe it.
He goes, "The movie was a failure as a mainstream hit," but he goes, "Then when the goth girls got a hold of it, this movie really..." And I'm like, yeah, that adds up.
It does.
Yeah. He goes, "There's a certain section that comes to his convention appearances to talk about this movie." Lots of Freddie people, sure. And then a 10% group of them that is all about this movie. And
Eric Dessler groupies who are like, "I will do anything if you'll have sex with me and then put gold coins on my eyes." Would that be great? That's exactly what I want.
Oh, the gold coins.
It doesn't surprise me because, like, the Phantom himself, from mostly the musical, but in general, has a very large fangirl base.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's like... He kills people.
Yeah.
I know.
This is it's the same thing with.
Hey, and I say that lovingly as somebody who used to be that person.
Yeah.
Now as an adult, there's nothing I want more than a boring Raoul de Chagny.
There you go.
Yeah, see, there you go. But it is strange to me that but we see it in real life with people developing crushes on serial killers. There's a weird part of brain. Male or female, I guess, that is drawn to someone that is they're projecting some sort of romanticism onto a dark, troubled soul. They're like, "Oh, that is so hot that you went out and killed all those people. That is, you're my guy." And I gotta say, Phantom of the Opera is probably the most famous and romantic of stalker stories. It is a stalker story.
I will say, though, that is one of the things I really and actually it reminds me of a great Parks and Rec joke where they're filling out a dating profile for Leslie, and she goes, "What kind of man are you looking for?" He goes, "Someone dark and mysterious who plays music." And Anne's just, "You just described the Phantom of the Opera," and Leslie just goes, But that's one of the things I liked about this is this guy is it is not reciprocated. He is a stalker.
Right.
He is a serial killer.
And when I come back and be annoying for the 2004 movie, I will talk about my problem with musical theater and its treatment of female characters in general.
Sure.
But I did, but without getting into that, I really liked in this version how, Christine doesn't do a ton in this, and she doesn't do a ton in the novel anyway either. But I liked in this that, like, she gets mad, and she at least is like, okay, something needs to happen with this situation because it is bad, and I don't like being in it.
It's actually a pretty good twist of modernization of the storyline to where Christine ain't gonna just sit back and take it, and so they make her aggressively self-protective, and she full on essentially leads to his death in multiple timelines. So I mean that is good and necessary. You also get the impression here, and Jill Schoelen does a decent job. I think a better actress could have really sold it, but the idea is that she, just like in the book and just like in the musical, she's okay with the Phantom as long as he is her teacher and angel.
Yes.
It's when there is an implication of, and you will be mine, that Christine goes, whoa, no.
There's basically an attempted rape in this. I mean, there is attempted rape.
This takes it, like I said, much more literally. The thing about I'm your boyfriend now, Christine.
It does that in a frank, scary manner. That's one of the things I was talking to somebody about this movie, and they go, "How is that one?" I go, "Oh, I like it. It really is a pure horror movie, unlike most other versions that are always, even if they're trying to be horror, the Claude Rains version, the Hammer version, there's always this majesty to it still, that's still like, but the tortured artist. Here you're like, whatever talent he had is pretty much undone by the horrifying murders."
Yeah.
There's no debate about how we should feel about this Phantom.
This Phantom, they take another swing away from source material and also the famous adaptations, is that this Phantom isn't a tragic figure. I mean, he loves Christine, but he is shown right off the bat when we get his origin sequence, he has made a deal with the devil.
He has
victimized himself to an eternity where his music will live on, but he'll never get what he desires. And so he's not tragic. Whereas the Phantom in the novel and the musical was born deformed and therefore was always hidden away. He's essentially a very tragic incel who sits there going, I have all this incredible talent and intelligence, but no one will ever touch me because look at this face. And that moves you. This Phantom is not a romantic hero, so it's interesting that all the goth girls, I mean, he's a straight-up killer with supernatural powers derived from the devil, who's decided this one girl is the girl for him forever and ever.
But again,
across time. Yeah.
There you go. I want to kiss those dentures. I want to kiss that latex. No, it's not latex, actually. That's human flesh that he's using in the beginning.
In the beginning, I think maybe it's latex at the end. I don't know.
Yeah.
He gets very Mission Impossible down the stretch.
Yes.
That was, But can I read you some other taglines here? That the Robert Englund was Freddy in An All New Nightmare.
I'm ready.
Here we go. We have The Final Curtain is About to Drop.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad. Of course, from the movie, Only Love and Music Are Forever. This Phantom is alive and taking revenge on all those who turned him into his worst nightmare.
Yeah, weak.
Yeah, and also
wordy, weak.
Yeah, wordy.
Well, if you thought that was long and weird, here, wait for this last one. He's not just in your mind. He's not just in your dreams. The Phantom can drag you back in time.
Wow, that is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, cute little reference to the musical, but...
And cute little reference to Freddy.
Yeah.
Another thing about, it's not just happening in your dreams.
Yeah. Well, let's actually now finally dive into... This might be the longest it's taken us to get into the plot of a movie, but I think it's all good setup for the movie itself. This movie opens with a quote.
Yeah.
Which I was okay. Which to me, anytime these things open, with a quote. I want to see if I have the quote anywhere on here.
It's something about anyone who makes a deal with the devil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's you're gonna be paying for that forever. You're gonna have a bad time. That's it.
Jean Viju? Is that how we would take
Well,
it?
I don't know. You found the quote?
Well, I wrote down the guy's name in my notes.
I think it's like some cardinal.
Oh, I got it here. Jean Vichu. Pray for them who giveth their immortal soul unto Satan, for each is damned to relive that wretched life through all times.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, I guess that fits the movie.
It does. In fact, it really is on the nosy.
Yeah. And when this started, it's what I expect. I thought this was a modern day version. I'd never seen this movie.
I did too.
I just assumed that was mainly because I thought it was going to be the cheap choice, right? And I
right.
thought, and all the Freddy Krueger comparisons, I was expecting something that kind of looked like a nightmare movie.
Yeah.
But so it does start with Christine talking to her friend Molly Shannon, who runs a old bookstore.
I think it seems that she works in a music library.
Yeah.
Like she's a pianist and she is a part-time music librarian.
Yeah.
Yeah. A very dusty, very that's not a store. It doesn't look like a store necessarily.
She also has to go down through creepy basements and stuff to get here.
Yeah,
I like that.
I love the fact that Christine Daae becomes Christine Day.
Yes.
Day.
Yeah, that was weird, but whatever.
Daae is too weird, but it's now just Day.
Yeah, Chrissy Day, done and done, said the screenwriter.
But Molly Shannon finds for her in this music library a piece of sheet music from a lost, unfinished opera by infamous composer Eric Dressler.
Yeah.
Called Don Juan Triumphant. Don Juan Triumphant.
Oh, we owe him money now.
Yeah.
We now owe
no, it's
Sir
less than 30
Andrew,
seconds. It's fine.
Yeah.
Sir Andy. But yes, she's got
Me
a
and
couple
Andy
of
were cool.
Yeah. He's listening to everything that talks about Phantom and he's got his stopwatch out to say,
man, if only Paul F. Tompkins would suddenly jump in as Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber.
We need Sir Andrew Lloyd Webber.
By the
time we get to the Joel Schumacher one, we should do our best to get Paul F. Tompkins on here, or at least to record something.
But regardless, but it's just a couple pages, and she goes, "Oh my God, I've heard of this, but it's only a couple pages. Where's the rest?" And she goes, "I don't know. I found it tucked between two books." I love the way she found this for Christine. This is great. And Christine says, "Where?" It was tucked between two books over there. And then within 10 minutes, not even 10 minutes, 10
seconds, she's
10
like,
seconds.
"Oh, I found it."
Yeah, I
Here's
found the rest
of it.
Yeah, that was amazing. By the way,
you're like, Molly Shannon, did you just not really try? He's like, you found two sheets. You're like, you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
Adorable 80s nerd.
Accompanists.
Molly Shannon.
Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Accompanist, you're great. I love all of you.
With her big old
Molly
80s
Shannon,
glasses.
Bright, young, with the glasses on, and she's Christine's best pal. And
Meg.
And off to a tryout.
Yes.
An audition.
Yes.
An audition for an opera.
With a guy who, when he first came on screen, the director audition, I went, "Oh my God, John Cleese is in this?" Oh, no, it's not. Never mind.
And by the way, you know what doesn't happen in New York? You don't walk down sidewalks in New York, even on Broadway, and have a string of singers out in front, standing like in a soup line, all going, "Oh!"
They give them empty rooms to warm up in.
Yeah, yeah, and
it's it's really a bad place to do warm-ups. Really, is the street?
Yes,
I know.
Out on the street.
The
smog
but,
and the cold.
We need the visual.
It's such a classic. I
don't
think I've ever seen a movie about Broadway that doesn't have something like this, though, where they're all going like, or I love when they're all
in a rehearsal space.
I love when they're
up in the hallway. Maybe
I love when people are in their costumes or they have instruments in lines like this too in movies. I always love that, where it's just like, "Yeah, that's right. You wait out in the cold, and we'll come and see what you got."
Well, it's just like every time you go to a backlot in a movie.
Yeah,
you go to a backlot in a movie, and you've got the cowboys and the spacemen walking
around. The
Trojan
soldiers.
I worked at Warner Brothers Studios. You don't see cowboys and spacemen walking around heading for the commissary.
Yeah.
Every now and then you'll see a Batman villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to eat in costume anyway.
I know this guy.
Yeah.
They're losing me after the bunker scene. I always go back to Blazing Saddles, the guy in the Hitler outfit. Anyway, so so Christine goes in.
She's doing a real good job.
Oh my God, she's doing an amazing
her audition.
job.
And then,
oh no,
how could this happen?
Oh jeez.
Oh, we skipped over one thing when she was in the still with the sheet music.
Oh yeah, the blood.
Yeah.
Effect.
Pretty decent.
Not a bad effect. I don't quite. I mean, other than it's just generally creepy and foreboding, I don't quite know what it represents.
She's looking at the Don Juan Triumphant sheet music, and it starts to bleed through the paper, and then her hands are covered in blood. She's like, oh! And then Meg goes, Christine, you okay? And it's like, oh, I just saw blood on my hands. I'm fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, it's all gone now.
I'm an opera singer. I'm just a little stressed out. You know?
I'm just a little stressed out. That's what happens. Yeah. She goes and she does a fine job. Meg's playing the piano.
Yeah,
but then she freaks out.
Well, because oh jeez, I lost control of this sandbag. Ka-thunk.
Okay, again,
whops are right in the head.
And at this point in the movie, I'm going, okay, I have no idea where this thing's going.
This is a fucking audition on a stage in Broadway.
Why are
There's
these
no
guys...
one in the catwalks.
Yeah,
no one's up there next to the sandbags.
I know they're auditioning people today, but we gotta get these sandbags moved. We just gotta.
We gotta build the sets now. We gotta start now. No,
yeah.
Well, because
don't worry about the sound of hammering. You'll be able to hear those singers over it.
Isn't there a line where the director goes, "Can we stop the hammering?" Like they're even establishing, like, "Yeah, we're doing work back here."
Yeah.
So poor Christine, she gets conked
and she wakes up in the what year is this?
She wakes up in 18 something blah blah blah.
Early 1800s.
It's London. There's corsets and stays.
Yeah.
There's
well, it looks Victorian, so I'm saying 1870s, 1880s.
Oh, you're going later. Yeah, I'm trying to. I guess we do have. I'm going by the weapons that they're using. They do have revolvers, so we're a little bit later, I guess.
They have hansom cabs still. And in fact, we get to see that one corner shot of the hansom cab turning that corner. We get to see it about 4 times in one movie.
This was all built for that Roger Daltrey movie, so which I never saw Threepenny Up. I'm not gonna.
I didn't either. All you need is the Broadway cast album with Raul Julia. As,
yeah.
That's all you need.
I know. The Broadway, absolutely. I never saw whatever Menachem Golan disaster, and I love Roger Daltrey, but I don't necessarily think like, oh, he'll carry a picture.
Yeah. Luckily, none of that's coming through.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
He blew out the mic on that one, but he was attempting to do so. Yeah, anyway. So yeah,
Teenage Wasteland.
She wakes up and
the song is called Baba O'Reilly. Unless you were seeing the actual version called Teenage Wasteland off of their follow-up to Tommy called Lighthouse.
Ooh.
I thought it was Lifehouse. Boom!
Man, I just watched
jumping out the window.
I just watched a jousting match over Who trivia.
You're right. The song is called Baba O'Reilly,
and I thought they were a very
I just
good
like
band.
being an asshole. It's not. I don't actually care.
Welcome to the podcast.
Oh yeah.
You're one of the family.
By the way, this is the podcast to do the actually. This is the only place that's socially accepted.
Thank God this isn't filmed because we are constantly pushing our glasses up to the bridge of our nose.
Oh boy. Yeah. The fact that only one of us has glasses is a weird point too.
Oh, I have glasses, but only for distance. And you're close.
Same.
Yeah. My eyes are bad enough. I have glasses for both.
Oof. But so yeah, she wakes up.
And there's a different.
we're
past
we're
Meg?
pretty with weird different casted past Meg. I guess Molly Shannon.
And then
I guess either Molly Shannon couldn't do the British accent, or they couldn't get the gal who was Meg in the past scenes back for when they reshot the present day scenes.
Emma Rawson.
Probably it. Yeah.
Because nobody else is a parallel.
No.
So, oh my.
Except for the Phantom.
Yeah, this is one of 6 acting credits that Emma Rawson, who plays past Meg, has. All BBC TV appearances and this movie.
Makes
End
sense.
of career. I mean, she's not great in this.
No.
But
she's okay.
I mean, she's not terrible, but I mean, she doesn't make it. She's not Molly Shannon.
No.
I mean, I'm not gonna say like Molly Shannon's amazing in this, and you could totally see the star potential, but she's pretty good.
I will say that she has like a line reading in like that very first scene where I was like going, "You're already doing a better job than the lead actress."
Yes.
And that, I probably would have thought that if she had never gone on to anything else, is like, oh, this character actress doing the best friend part's quite good.
We've called out people like that before on the show. So anyway, yeah, she wakes up. Here's the thing that took me by surprise was I expected to go like, where am I? How did I get here? No, she's just exists in the past as this person.
Yeah.
Weird.
It's very strange.
Well, and I assumed that... this is reincarnation nonsense. Eric is eternal, but she's reincarnated. So all she's doing is... But there seems to be bleed backwards and forwards, because she does say later, he goes, how did you know the lyrics to my thing? And she goes, I just know it from somewhere. So I think time goes back and forth.
But the thing is that that's not made clear until the end of the movie. So, like, it is baffling up front for it. Like, I mean, you kind of quickly are like, oh, okay, like, this is some kind of weird dream she's having.
Also, I got to the point where I kind of forgot about the modern day stuff.
I did too.
About halfway through, and then when they went back to it, I was like, oh, right, because I just kind of was like, whatever, I'm just going to accept this 1800 story now. And I still don't fully understand what happened. So,
I still think it's past life. Because
I do too. It's gotta be, right? It's not. That's not made evident. That's not. Well, that's not.
Because
like
as
made clear.
Eric at the end in the modern day says, "You don't even know how long I've waited for you to come back."
Yeah.
So he's just been waiting for her to get reborn and then get to prime Jill Schoelen age, and then he's like, "Perfect." And she's singing opera.
Yeah.
We're right back where we started. Let's go.
Do you think he checked in on other generations of this family and went, it doesn't look the same. Forget it. Never mind. I'll keep toiling.
That's true. The name's exactly the same too. So it's not even that she got reincarnated into her own family name. It's like, I'm still Christine Day.
It's like until that Christine Day comes back, I'll just I want to know what he was doing in all this time, man. He's clearly worked his way into the opera legitimately, and he's also a computer tech whiz, but we'll get to all that later.
And apparently still the devil bargain, he was still only able to write the one piece of music. He's been around for a century or so, and he's like going, you know what? I just can't top Don Juan Triumphant.
He crushed it out the gate, man. That was
out the gate.
Yeah,
that's what devil deals do for you.
That's what devil deals do.
So we find out, and we're doing the Phantom story now. She's the understudy to the diva Carlotta. So she has a small part in the play, but she's the understudy to the diva. And I'll never get tired of hearing common, street level Londoners like these guys backstage go, yeah, you hear about that Phantom?
Yeah.
God.
It's the best. It's the best.
Well, I mean, it's clunky exposition stuff, but I do love, you always have the benefit of having the owners be new owners. And this goes to the novel too, is that things get explained to them and also the audience. Because later on, it's like, wait, why are we losing $300 every show by leaving that box empty? Oh, that's box 5. It has to be left empty for the Phantom.
Box,
they're like, that's a superstition.
The Phantom.
You know these artists.
Yeah. They're crazy with their superstitions.
The bat. Sorry, it always goes back to Batman '89.
The bat.
Yeah, there ain't no bat. We have these guys. Also, this immediately gave me this feeling, and another reason this movie was endeared to me and then confirmed by the documentary is England's big note to the script was, I want this to feel like the Hammer movies I grew up loving. That was Robert Englund's big thing. And the movie does have a lot of places where it feels like a Hammer movie. And I think that's, and for good and ill, because we always talk, I mean, the cheapness of the sets even kind of feels Hammer. Or like,
it does.
The sets aren't cheap. They're just clearly sets. They're actually better than a lot of Hammer sets, which were bad, because we know, because they were in a basement in London for most of those movies, right? Like they had like one house that they dressed and redressed.
They weren't meant to be watched back to back to back like
no,
we did.
Where we're starting to go like, oh, this is just shot in the same house.
Their set directors were quite good at turning that one particular manor they had, which was their offices too, into Dracula's castle, Castle Frankenstein. It was like a million things, like same room, redressed, poof.
It is like, what do we need this week? Evil lab, got it.
Yeah, got it, no problem.
Yeah. But it does have that kind of feeling to it that I did find nostalgic. Sure. And even some of the bloodletting has that aspect of it too, because the Hammer movies were the bloodier, meaner, darker ones than the Universal.
But they got a higher end of tomato soup for this one.
Well, yeah, it doesn't have the vivid red paint of blood. We do it, but because I know, but even that I kind of adore in the Hammer movies.
Of course.
It adds to the sort of Penny Dreadful. That's the other thing too. It's the Penny Dreadful thing in this too. That's the thing I think it shares.
Heightened, stylized, theatrical.
Some of the kills in this movie are like, what the? There's a couple times where I go, what did he do to that guy? Exactly. Like, and I put some of that on director. I don't know. I guess I don't. Maybe I put that on the MPA cuts because I think some of the cuts away from the more graphic bits make it hard to understand physically what has been done to someone.
Yeah.
So anyway, they. I just then we move down through the sewers to find the Phantom in his Phantom cave. And he's this right here though. I'm like, ooh, I'm kind of in for how ghastly this movie is when he's sewing the skin patches to himself. I'm going, ooh.
In this movie, it's an interesting take where instead of a mask, the mask that the Phantom wears in this is a close to approximate real human face that he has sewn to his own disfigured face. Yeah. So he's not walking around in a masquerade mask all the time. This is him, and it is effectively because they're doing it all in close up and he's acting the part. It's like, wow, that is a torturous existence where he is sewing patches of some other human's flesh onto his own, and you're like, God damn. Plus, how long does that take?
Yeah.
To cover, and then on top of the seams, he does makeup, so it covers up some of the stitch work. But good Lord,
they do talk extensively to the makeup artist on this, who was a well-respected makeup artist
until
the incident.
Yeah, the tragedy. But I gotta look this guy up because they had talked about they talked about what his.
I think he did a fine job.
Yeah, well, he was like I said, he was kind of known as like the guy, Kevin Yeager. We may have even talked about him before. He had worked on some of the Nightmare on Elm Streets, no surprise. So that was sort of like bring him in.
He knew Bob Englund's face.
He had done Friday the 13th. He had done 976 Evil, which Englund directed. He did the Weird Al Yankovic Fat video.
Yeah.
And then continues on and on to horror and non-horrors. Like he did Glory, and then he also does Man's Best Friend, Children of the Corn 3, Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, if anyone remembers that. Ooh, he did Hellraiser Bloodline, Elliot.
Bloodline.
Yeah. But his main gig...
That's got some interesting stuff in it.
His main gig was operating the Crypt Keeper puppet on Tales from the Crypt.
Wow.
Because they talked about he designed all the makeup for this, but he was unable to actually go to Romania where they shot this and apply it because he had to film Tales from the Crypt.
Because he was too busy writing all those puns. he also had to come up with the... all the little tags for the Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah, I think that's on the puppeteer, right?
That is on the puppeteer. It's like, dude, your material's really slipping. I'm working on it.
Yeah, I'm running the puppet and I'm writing in a notebook. This is crazy, man.
Looks like he found out a way to get ahead. Good? Get ahead?
Oh, we use that last.
Great.
Yeah,
that'll do.
Yeah,
that'll do.
Yeah, I guess that's fine. Yeah.
Not your best.
We're gonna have to call in Zemeckis on this.
But speaking of effects, so when the Phantom comes and confronts Joseph for blaming his mistakes on poor Robert Englund, it was a strange kill because knowing Phantom stuff, I'm expecting him to hang the guy with the rope.
And they kind of set that up.
And they do kind of set it up, but he pushes the guy and the rope catches him and he doesn't fall, and then Englund pulls him back up to gut him.
It will stab into him and then keep pulling him up to slice him. But you're right, Brendan, is then we see him skin, but it does seem like he like disembowels him here.
Yeah, I expected, like, because I knew there had been cuts. In my mind, I was like, well, they must have had a scene where, like, his guts just spill onto the stage.
Oh, yeah,
I was like that.
I was kind of fingers crossed, like, his intestines were going to land on somebody.
Well, I mean, that's where I thought they were going with it.
Yeah.
So, yes, him showing back up in a closet and still alive and apparently not heard as he's in there dying until she happens to open it. I'm like, what the...
And he does.
It's working for a horror movie thing, but the logic doesn't hold up at all.
I stopped writing them down, but I was writing them down at the beginning here. When he drops the guy on the rope, he does say, "You're suspended."
You're suspended.
Which is this is where I'm like, okay, that was very Freddy Krueger. And I feel like this
Joseph was the guy who we skipped over a little bit. He's the guy who dropped
the sandbag, and he goes, "Oh, it must have been that Phantom."
It must have been the Phantom, and the Phantom knows him, and so he's up there and going, "How dare you blame that on me, you idiot!"
What I love about that is the Phantom assumes everybody believes this guy, and you're giving me a bad name.
Yeah, you're giving me a bad name.
Because like the people would just go like, "What a fucking liar," you know.
He also did do something that resulted in Christine getting hurt.
That would be more.
How dare you almost hurt the lady that I like?
She is protected.
So yeah, he does the whole. It's so strange. He drops him down, catches him on the rope, then pulls him back up and slits him from groin to gullet. And so that's effective. He has the one-liner.
Yeah.
And then, are we then with Carlotta in the bath?
We are with Bill Nighy, who rolls into work.
Yes.
And also, hello, 1989 Bill Nighy, looking good.
Yeah.
Looking
very
good.
Dapper.
Very dapper.
Just because a lot of his better roles or more famous roles later in life had him being like a drunken or drug abused using CAD type and a lower Londoner type.
Yeah.
To have him here being like upper crust Bill Nighy, I'm like, oh, weird.
Yeah, this is
not a character I'm used to you playing.
This is unusual for him. And also, I'm immediately suspicious. He plays a lot of bad guys.
Right.
And here,
he's not a great guy.
He's not a great guy, but he's more Mayor from Jaws bad.
Yeah.
But basically, he's come to sweeten Carlotta. She's the diva.
Yes.
And so he's trying to,
he's got flowers with him.
Quasi-romancer. Yeah, it's like you are going to
he's trying to get
amazing.
her to. He's trying to get her to sign, like, re-up her contract with
the
Opera House.
Right.
And
she's being very diva-ish in her bubble bath.
Well, I am a diva. She's in the bubble bath. He's trying to get her, and doesn't he go something about like, "I could drown you in here. No one would even know."
Yeah,
she's like, "Yeah, you won't." Cute. He's like, "You're right," which I thought was gonna set up her getting drowned in there.
Oh no! Because I wasn't expecting him to do anything.
No.
Yeah, that's
I was expecting the Phantom to then come and drown.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
I didn't think Nighy was going to do it. No, it's not what we get. She gets out of the bath and goes over to open her closet,
whatever you call that thing,
wardrobe.
Wardrobe, and there's blood on the floor that she slips in. She's like, "What?"
Yeah, and then
she opens it.
And whether it makes sense or not, once again, good makeup across the board in this movie. It's unsettling seeing the skinned dude hanging freaky in there. I gotta say,
Joseph is in the wardrobe. He's suspended. Again, he's held up by like leather straps, and he is skinned, so he's like very red.
Extremely red.
And it's not till she opens it that he lifts his head. That's jarring enough. Opens his eyes and goes, "Help me."
It's probably the most like scared, if you want to use that word, I was in the movie. We've all talked about how broken we are, and I don't know that.
Are you okay? Do you need
that horror movies scare me? But this movie definitely did the thing I look for out of them, which it unsettled me in places. It is like,
John, if I can get on a couple of buses. I'll be there in a few minutes. You need a hug.
I think
it's like everything's gonna be all right, buddy. Everything's gonna be all right. Yeah. The scary red man that was just makeup and tomato soup. But yeah, he even lifts an arm. Again, I'm like, this is far more life in him than I expected because I saw him get gutted.
It would be one thing if he'd just been like, like his last, but he is like
his
trying to
breath, yeah.
help me.
So she backs away screaming as you would,
and then
you hear her voice just going. That's pretty good.
Not bad. To convey something that's kind of silly in concept and we've seen be silly on screen. This actually, is one of the better things I've seen that sold me on her actually losing her voice.
Yes, which of course means the premiere of Faust, which is the opener of the season.
Yeah,
that we've seen the poster touting Carlotta. It's weird that she is the diva, and I know that opera. Marguerite has like a great aria, and she's an important character, but it's Faust. It's Mephistopheles and Faust are the main characters. It seems weird that they'd be like the lady who's going to play the female lead is like the big name.
It's more weird that they didn't pick a season opener that was female led.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like
why don't you start with Aida or something?
Yeah, or
then it's all
Lucia de Lammermoor or something.
Yeah, it's all about them making the connection to Faust, which is also them, we said, very much cribbing from Brian De Palma in his script for Phantom of the Paradise, which once again is like an absolute favorite of this podcast. We adore Phantom of the Paradise.
Fucking love it because it is so weirdly past its source material. It's an original beast, and it's just a cartoon strip thing.
In some ways, I would say it's my favorite Phantom of the Opera, but it also
and it's got Paul Williams songs. So
all the songs are amazing, and it's got Beef. Beef is one of the great characters.
Garrett Graham playing Beef
and going all
life at last. Salutations from the other side.
I legitimately like Beef's music.
Well, again, you got that Paul
Williams, man. So Nai is man, he's not happy about a lot of things. There's a skinned guy in a closet. They're not selling a box they could be making money on. Oh, Bill Nye. Does Bill Nye kind of just disappear from this movie at a certain point?
Well, weirdly, Richard doesn't have a very big part either, and he's sort of quasi the romantic lead. In fact, he's not even named for a long time. He's the young guy who's one of the other owners.
The weird thing about the script is the first half is heavy on Nai, and then the second half is heavy on Richard. But we never get he becomes certainly from the action standpoint, right? He's the guy doing stuff. But Nai kind of just fades out of this movie.
Yeah. We don't want to spend too much time with the opera house owners. I guess it's only weird in that like he's the most famous person in the movie now, and we're going like, but back then, Bill Nye is basically in this thing going. He's like, well, great. Now she can't sing, and I tried to get her to sign her contract. Well, we got to and. Richard, who we'll find out is Richard. In my mind, I'm just like going, "Hey, Alex Hyde White. Hi, Reed Richards."
Well, also when he came on,
son of Wilfred Hyde White, great character actor.
When he came on screen, I went, "Oh, here's Raoul." Right, like just his look before I knew anything about him, and it's like, right, Richard, because.
But basically, he's like going, "Well, Britain. Give Christine a chance. She'll step in. She's the understudy, and she's amazing. Just wait till you hear her." And so we know, okay, this is the part of Raoul. He's just been recast. Got it. All right.
Exactly. And it's he's all upset because it's opening night and we don't have a diva, which, as you're saying, is weird because, yes, this is not an opera that is diva heavy.
Not diva
heavy. Weird choice, but I get they just have to do the Faust connection.
The Faust Connection is the name of my movie, which I'm going to be putting out next year.
I don't think anybody's ever tried. You could do Faust and turn the whole thing into a gay obsession romance. I can't think of a version.
It is Pride Month.
Yeah.
Maybe when this comes out.
Probably not. Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, maybe.
Not. It was Pride Month. Hey, it's Wrath Month now.
Yeah. Whatever. But yeah, I was just thinking about that. Then you could do Faust and I don't think it changes much.
My rock opera Faust that I wrote at 19.
That you keep mentioning. No.
He just won't stop talking about.
He's still looking for financing.
All it needs is the music.
Yeah.
I wrote the book and lyrics.
It's a problem. No, it's a little problem with it.
Yeah, a little problem, but it's gonna hit.
Yeah.
Big.
Yeah. By the time this comes out, that will be opening on Broadway, obviously.
Yeah. There you go.
So yeah, I do love, you get the thing where it's like, due to illness, tonight's lead performance will be played by Christine Day, and you get the classic, no, Jesus, no, Christ, that's gonna suck.
A few people get up and leave. They're like, well, fuck, we're out of here.
I do like that on the documentary, similar to what you were saying, Brendan, they do talk about like, oh, we got all these extras. There were really like 400 extras. All in period costume. I just like the director going, no cardboard people in the crowd or anything. We're for Menachem Golan probably funded one day of crowd shot, like, and the whole thing. And they could just...
I was gonna say earlier that speaking of the very shoestring budget and how little they were willing to spend, this is the only version of the Phantom of the Opera story without a chandelier dropping.
Yes.
Because they didn't want to pay to have a couple, like, multiple chandeliers break for different shots.
Menachem Golan's like, are you kidding me? No way.
When I said this is like very faithful to the beats of the Phantom of the Opera story, that is the one big beat that we don't get, which of course, and we've seen a few versions now, and sometimes even when they put it in, it's not done well.
It's an interesting thing. The iconography of it is obviously classic, but I kind of didn't miss it. I didn't sit here going like, what? I didn't feel cheated because it probably, Brendan, you're right. It probably would have looked like shit if they had done it.
They open up the body count in this one. Like they up it to where he's knocking people off. So you still see him as a threat.
Yes.
In the book and the musical, that is his big one. That is the one he warns them about, and they choose to defy his wishes, and he takes out a bunch of people all at once.
Is it Hammer or Universal with the hilarious image of him up there sawing the thing?
That is Universal. You see
He's really going
Claude
at
Rains
it.
up there sawing away for so long that... Like, literally, only 3 people who were probably deaf, and why are they at the opera anyway? They're the only ones left under that chandelier when it finally drops. He's up there going, any minute, come on, just you wait, just you wait.
Yeah, and it's just like, Well, the other problem with that one is there's so much opera in it.
There's so much opera in that Universal one, and they thought this was going to make it prestigious, and you're like, no, it just makes it slow and boring.
That one I fast-forwarded through some of the musical sections.
Because they actually got, as their lead, a woman who actually did her own singing and was like this amazing voice. You're like, of course, it makes sense.
But from the 40s
but
standpoint...
it's not about the opera. The story is not about them standing on stage.
But from the 40s standpoint, they're going like, let's give people a show. We'll have some horror and some romance and a lot of opera. Anyway, you can go back in our archives and listen to us bitch about that episode for like 2 hours. So they replaces him. Meanwhile, we get our inspector character. He rolls up because, once again, there's been a murder. Who is this? Terrence Harvey is Inspector Hawkins.
Sure.
He's one of those guys where I'm like, I've seen this guy and stuff, right?
Yeah, he looks familiar.
Yeah, I mean, the answer is, if you've watched any BBC in the last 25 to 30 years, you've seen him.
He's probably in a couple episodes of Midsomer Murders.
Right there, 2001, Midsomer Murders. Yep. Yeah.
And he was in, he played a recurring character on Toast of London.
Oh, yes.
With our good friend Matt Berry.
Oh, yes. One of our favorite vampires.
But,
anyway, he's been in everything up into including like Downton Abbey, EastEnders, The Bill, all the stuff.
He's fine in this.
He's fine in this. From his IMDb, I think he plays basically the same character in the Johnny Depp misfire From Hell. But you know, the less said about that, the better. He shows up and he goes, I don't know about phantoms, but I've seen this before. Which I like the inspector who's like, yes, I know this quarry.
Well, it's like, this was the work of an artist.
Yeah.
Or at least a guy knows how to take skin off of a guy.
Yes.
This is my design. So like he's been chasing the Phantom, quote unquote.
I guess maybe the Phantom's been up to other kind of naughtiness around London.
Yeah.
Are they trying to imply that maybe he was the Ripper? They never make that explicit.
That
Except he does get together with a prostitute and doesn't hurt her at all. In fact, tips are quite nice.
In fact, I think that's meant to make us think he's not the Ripper as a result.
Yeah.
I think it's what, because I thought when he picked her up, I thought, oh, here we go. Here's the thing that's going to say he is the Ripper.
And in this movie, most of the people he kills are men. In fact, pretty much all of them. So you would be an idiot to think he was the Ripper.
And that's why this is a feminist film.
Yep.
So,
it's not.
Probably
and
not.
It's revealed at the end that Eric is actually Erica. My mind was blown.
And a gender fluid phantom. This thing was way ahead of its time, man.
So far ahead.
But no, that is interesting. It is. I don't know that it's feminist, but it is.
No, that was 150% a joke.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's less
he stalks a woman.
It's less misogynistic than. Yeah. But it is at least presenting that as deeply problematic and in no way romantic.
Yes.
So it is less misogynistic than other versions. Let's go there.
Yes.
To which on this show, that's fucking progress, man.
We're getting there.
Yeah. Less misogyny is as big as we're a long ways out from the Elizabeth Moss Invisible Man. Jesus Christ. But we'll get there.
We will get there.
Yeah. So anyway, so the Phantom. This is where we get the Phantom's flashback of his origin.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
Boy, is it.
He's writing away at his opera, and devil.
We're in a nebulous time and place. We don't know when this is.
Vaguely the past.
He seems to be in a brothel.
Yes.
Playing piano, which makes me think of the Old West.
Yeah.
But he's composing at a piano, and down the stairs comes a couple of sex workers and a little man, a little gentleman.
Yes. John Gavin is this actor's name.
So what we're seeing is, on stage, the Faust story is happening, and it's intercutting with his flashback to his origin, and that is the director saying, "Get it?" Because then the little man starts speaking in a voice that's clearly not his.
Yes.
But it is a deep, like, "You love music, do you not? What would you give to be able to have your music live forever?" So we're like, oh, the little guy is Satan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is being intercut with the actual production of Faust.
Right.
Which
they love.
And
I love young Eric because it's Robert Englund with a boyish ponytail, and his voice is lifted up here. He's like, "I would give anything."
So cute.
It was adorable. I just wanted to wrap him up in a little blanket, take him home.
Love it. I'm such an unabashed fan of this guy's. I love Robert Englund.
I want to bottle feed him right there.
And and I just love that he's just like, this is the one, man. This is the one where I'm gonna show him the chops. Freddie, I get to. That's fun. That makes me money. But this is it, man. This is the real one. And it's a bummer that it didn't take off because he is good in it, of course.
Yes, it is true.
Yeah.
But he signs that contract, and the devil gives him a ring, goes, "Great. And your music will live forever, but you will never get what you desire."
And then immediately
look horrible.
Hits him with some kind of heated hand power.
Yeah.
And burns up his face.
Messes him up real good.
Poor Robert Englund, man, always having his face messed up in these movies.
Yeah.
I was just watching season 4 of Stranger Things, and there's Robert Englund shows up, and you better believe he's got prosthetics on his face.
Basically, Robert Englund is forced to, by many of the governments of the world, to carry a sign with him at all times that says, "Do not put near an open flame." People are concerned because he will go up. He's just extremely flammable.
Yeah, he's described as highly flammable when he makes
highly
convention
flammable.
Apparent.
Robert Englund.
You've got to be careful what lights you put him under at conventions, man. Like,
I have to
cannot
say,
ship him through UPS.
No.
I'll say this: since you brought it up, season 4 of Stranger Things, great. At least the first chunk that we've been able to see,
wonderful.
And a great usage of Robert Englund.
Oh, and you talk about getting to show his chops. He gets one scene and he crushes it.
He crushes it. He's great.
Yeah. Always thought the guy was always a good actor. He fell into this stuff accidentally. He's like a real deal actor. Yeah. Oh man, he's great in V. And
totally not the bad guy. He was the sweet, lovable, innocent alien.
Yeah,
who didn't want to hurt anybody.
I know, it's Nightmare that really changes his career. Yeah. So anyway, he's watching. We also get the classic Phantom watching Christine perform and just being like, yes.
They go a little farther with this one because it literally looks like he's arriving. As he's watching her sing, he's kind of like, oh God, she's hitting that note.
Yeah.
And you're like, we get it. You sure like her voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then he has to go take care of that business after the opera.
Yeah.
I'll be in my bunk.
Well, not even after the opera. He leaves once her aria is over. Which is like, hey, you know what?
Once she's at
the rest of these guys, fuck it. And I've seen this opera before.
I have to address some business elsewhere.
I would love it if under foreign translations they just like go, why don't we just put I'll be in my bunk? Yeah, just put that underneath whatever he's saying there.
So he's and then the crowd gives her a standing ovation.
Yeah,
but apparently it's
also
a
big
bad
success.
I don't know.
But after
I'm sorry. Yes.
But after the opera, when Christine is hanging out with Alex Hyde White.
Yeah.
And we do see Bill Nighy conspiring with the reviewer who was there in the audience.
That's right.
To give Christine a bad review. And I don't 100% see what the point is there, because
it seems like this will help the theater and she'll cost less than Carlotta.
Well, I think it is probably due to a pre-existing contract. In other words, if Carlotta doesn't come back, even if Christine's a big success, they'll probably still lose money. So maybe just for the season, they still need Carlotta, I guess. Because you're right, it makes no sense. If they have discovered a new star,
there's some dialogue we could have used, Brendan. What you just said. We could have used that dialogue, though.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if Bill Nighy
we didn't
said
get it.
Something like that, where it's like.
So unfortunately, the one review that comes out, apparently the only one that Meg, London Meg,
London, that famous one newspaper town.
Yeah.
London Meg is all excited to read the review, and then it's sort of a slam, which makes Christine say something which is misleading to the audience and does make it seem like, did she have an illusion on stage? Because she goes, I thought I did really well. Maybe I just wanted that to be the case. And you're like, no, we the audience who just watched the movie know you had a big night, and this guy wrote one bad review.
Yep. Yeah. And that's enough. That tanks the whole thing.
That takes the whole thing, but it also is a good.
Mess up your whole self-esteem.
But it's another good excuse for a phantom murder. That is the whole reason this exists.
And this is we sort of skipped the brothel bit, but he sleeps with a prostitute. He tries to write some music, and some guy comes over to bother him, and
he calls the prostitute Christine.
And
she goes, "That's not my name, lad."
That's not my name.
And he goes,
"Tonight, you gonna be Christine."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Okay, it's not the weirdest thing anyone's asked for."
It's probably not.
Is
your face sewn on? Yeah. Is half of your face just sewn on?
Yeah.
No.
It's weird.
And at first, during the sex scene, I thought, "Oh wow, not getting sleazy with the nude." Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Because it's not the sex scene. It's just the next day where she finds the coins, and I'm going, anytime you want to cut away, oh, no, we're just going to have her roll over. Okay.
Well, okay. I will say they showed restraint with Carlotta. I kept expecting that bathtub scene.
Well, I have seen other films produced by Menachem Golan, so yes, I too was surprised by this.
I was thinking the same thing, because I'd also heard that this one was it ups the gore and the sex, and I'm like, well, those are... Okay,
it really doesn't up the sex, though, really.
But they're restrained with Carlotta. I was like, great. When we get to her, the prostitute lady, the sex worker, in the sex scene, she is wearing a see-through thing. So it was like, that's where they get it. And then the next morning, she's fully topless. I was like, okay. All right, Menachem.
Yeah,
because
Golan saw the dailies and he goes, only see-through? No. This is a Golan picture.
When she finds the gold...
Yeah.
Topless.
Yeah.
Totally no top.
Well, and even when she wakes up and she's on her back, I thought, okay, they're gonna kind of give us some, and it's like the movie just kept. I'm like, I'm trying to help you not be sleazy,
it's not
movie.
Crazy salacious. In fact, I mean, it is still just sort of like it's not over sexualized nudity.
It's
just unnecessary nudity.
1989 boob requirements. Like,
and one thing this movie is making clear is even in Andrew Lloyd Webber's thing, it's a tragic romance.
Mm-hmm.
The sex thing is just like he just wants that closeness, which you assume would probably eventually lead to something. But it's not about that. This thing is like he's like going, she's gonna be mine. Like all of it is going to be her voice and everything else.
There's a line in the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical, in Down Once More, Track Down This Murderer.
Track down this murderer. He must be found.
Where Christine says, have you gorged yourself at last in your lust for blood? Am I now to be prey to your lust for the flesh? And he says, that fate which condemns me to wallow in blood has denied me the joys of the flesh.
Yeah.
So
does that mean he doesn't have a
penis? The Phantom is asexual. Holy shit. Happy Pride Month.
Maybe he does have
undone by that terrible sequel, though.
Maybe he also has a...
Don't talk to me about Love Never Dies. I thought we could get through this without talking about Love Never Dies.
I'm sorry, you mean the most successful musical sequel of all time? Second only to my Brigadoon 2084.
You know what I like about the double middle finger you're flashing now? That you put it in a cross, which fits the tone of this show.
Yes. Obviously.
Away, evil musical.
Love Never Dies.
Brendan,
when he was saying his line about like only love and music are forever, I swear to God, I thought he was going to say Love Never Dies, and I was going to jump off the building.
Thank God you didn't. Just like another suicide attributed to Robert Englund's Phantom of the Opera.
No,
movie.
Another suicide attributed to Andrew Lloyd Webber's Love Never Dies.
Yes. Brendan, should we cover the filmed version of that play? Because I kind of want to talk about it.
Is there a filmed version?
They did film it and put it out on DVD. So it's just film production. It's not a movie, so it's up for debate. Maybe that's a patron episode. Maybe that's a bonus episode. I don't know. But I just want to talk about it because it's so fucking crazy and terrible.
It is so wild.
It is so misbegotten.
I
believe that the story of Eric, the story of the Phantom, the story of the novel could be sequelized. You could. It's just
sure.
It's just that's not. None of the things I've seen are good.
I'm actually...
Robert Englund can talk about the movie that was almost made as a sequel to this. I'm going to believe that maybe it could have been good.
I think it would have been better than Love Never Dies. I can tell you that right now. Phantom
but that's
of Manhattan
really not saying much.
Would be a hell of a lot more entertaining than that. Anyway.
By the way, we all love it.
Yeah. If you guys are going to keep talking about Love Never Dies, I'm going to take a werewolf break.
Yeah, let's take a werewolf break. I could get some water.
All right. Taking a werewolf break. All right, we're back from our werewolf break and still talking about the Phantom of the Opera. So yeah, Christine's if she reads the negative review, she's very upset about that. But wouldn't you know it, there's about to be instant karmic justice for this guy who just wants to go to the steam bath at the I don't know what
as theater reviewers will.
Yeah,
you write a theater review, you're off to the bathhouse. So he goes there for a good steam.
Mm-hmm. But somebody else is there, a man who doesn't want to show his face for some reason.
Weird.
So strange.
Yes. And
I've suddenly forgotten what this movie was about. So.
Suddenly it was just about half-naked men in steam.
Yes, Robert Englund in a towel was. Oh, what? Sorry. No.
So he kills this guy.
Yeah, does first offer him, hey, like, you probably made a mistake.
Oh, that's true.
He goes,
I do. But... This is really good. I really like this more than like one-liners or anything. I like just the shittiness of this, like going like, I'm sure it was a mistake, and in fact, I'd like to offer you a private box so you can take in the opera again and reconsider.
That's right. And he goes, oh no, that's not how it works. I stand by my reviews. He goes, well, that's a shame. Kills a guy.
Which this was the death that was confusing to me most.
I had to back it up.
It was the only time I rewound not rewound because this is the 21st.
We're old.
I hit the back 15 seconds button.
Right.
Twice. Two.
He wraps a towel around the guy's head and then slams the head into the wall, right?
Right, but like, so what it seemed how it happened is he wraps the towel around the guy's head, pulls it so tight that it crushes the dude's face, and then throws him against the wall where it breaks.
Yeah, and then all you see is blood seeping through the towel.
Yeah,
which is a money-saving kill.
Well, and it's an effective visual, but I also had trouble understanding the physicality of what just happened.
It's like, I thought, is he strangling him first and then smushing his head against the wall?
That would have been a cool kill, actually, as if he was hitting him against the wall and the towel kept getting redder because he was beating his face inside
beating a repetitious thing, because it really is just the one whack. And even though the sound effect guy did a good job, like, ooh, but
I just like the idea of going, I got a skull crush on this board.
But also, as we find out later, they haven't done a good job up to this point and they never do, of laying out what his actual powers are. Because at this point, we don't know he's super strong.
I mean, I will say though, that was another thing I liked about it, and I'm sure
he is able to haul Joseph up pretty
I was gonna
easy.
say.
He throws a couple guys, too, doesn't he?
Yeah, but not yet.
Oh, no, not yet. Yes, he does do that. But I was going to say, one of the things I did like is, this is fairly comic booky, too. The fact that he has a power set. And the scene with the guys in the alley is full on a comic book scene.
Yeah.
It is like them going, we do need like a superhero moment in this movie. And
he's throwing people like Lou Ferrigno.
Well, and it's also one of those scenes I talk about that you got to have in any kind of like slasher thing. The guys you want to see get killed. The guys where you can be like, yeah, get him, Phantom.
He kills at least a bad guy or three.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like they're muggers, but like.
But you
also,
could say that everybody he kills in it, except for Richard, are morally fairly bad people.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Actually, that scene did already happen before the critic death.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like,
when he's got the gold
right after the brothel.
Yeah, it's
right after the brothel,
because
right? Because they're like, you've got gold on you.
They see him,
and they try to mug him, and he's like, you messed with the wrong guy.
Yeah,
and he kills a bunch of them, and he chops a dude's head off.
Now he's the Shadow, right? The way he's just like appearing behind
Shadow. He's
apparently
this
was one of the big X-rating things. Is in the original cut, you fully saw him saw through the whole head and it come off.
Yeah.
And the makeup guy was so upset they cut it. He goes, it was so good. We really worked on that thing, man. It looked incredible. And so I'm like, damn, I do kind of wish I saw that. Even what happened, I was still like, oh, fuck, he decapitated that guy.
With the tiniest knife.
Yeah, I don't. He gets through that neck pretty quick with that little knife. I don't know about that. He really sharpened that thing.
But he also is super strong.
That's
so maybe
true.
It doesn't
I think
take that much.
That I'm still going back to the power set. Yeah, right, exactly. I guess that is the thing. What does they say? He decapitates the one guy, he guts another guy, and then this is the one-liner I do like, where the guy goes, "You are a creature from hell," and he says, "And you, sir, are hell-bound."
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, not bad. Although, once again, sounds like something out of a comic book.
Yeah.
But Englund can crush those. We know he can do the one-liners. That's his whole career.
But so, this reviewer dies. But Christine does not find out at first because she's really upset and heads to the graveyard or the cemetery.
To talk to her father's grave, yes.
Yes. Which Richard follows. Not really sure why he even knows. Oh, I guess, he's like going to call on her, I suppose, and then sees her leaving.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
And at the cemetery, we have a guy who is definitely not Robert Englund playing the violin.
Yes. They do a lot to hide the face and not in like a mysterious way.
Yeah.
And he's playing this violin and he's seducing Christine with the... Is there something magical about the music? Because it hurts Richard, and that confused me.
It hurts Richard.
It's such a weird... your guess is as good as mine. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I because she's kind of hypnotized, but I wish they had gone...
mesmerized by
Yeah, but I wish they had gone full supernatural hypnotism with it, and then the idea that it repels Richard would have, because that's kind of the whole movie is like it dips its toe in the supernatural, but it doesn't fully commit to any of it or bother to.
It doesn't explain enough, so therefore you're constantly going, what are the boundaries of all this? In other words, what did signing that contract essentially give him? Immortality, some powers.
Yeah, and I feel like it's vague in places and then just lazy in other places. Like, it's also just going like, we can kind of do whatever we want with it, and also we're not going to explain it.
But like, even if we didn't, like, because I don't think that everything needs to be explained. No. But like, even if the violin part was like, oh, Christine is now wherever she needs to be in the cemetery for them to go down once more. That like he plays some sort of really harsh, sour note on the violin, and that's what freaks Richard out enough of like a distraction or something. Like not even like not explaining it, but at least telegraphing why the things that are happening on screen are happening.
That's what it is. It's the function of the powers.
Because right now it just looks like Richard hates violin.
Yes. But he like puts his hands in his ears, and then when he takes
my least favorite instrument.
When he takes them away, there's like blood coming out of his ears, and I'm going like, wait, what? We didn't hear any change. In a weird way,
the Phantom can use music in this to various to attract and repel. But if that is the case, if we're going that supernatural power route, you have to let us know. It can't just be this random.
Or have him do it in other scenes too.
Have him do it in other scenes to where we pick up on, oh, right. So he can pull her toward him. He can also hurt people. Like at this point, he is the Justice Society villain, the Fiddler. At this point,
I 100% thought that watching this. But because of course I did. But that's what Brandon and I are here to do. That's another thing. He basically uses all of his powers only once. Like he never again uses that Batman or Shadow appearing other places thing. Really.
Yeah, that kind of weird, almost teleporting thing.
That's the thing where you start to go like, well, does he have a power set? Because it seems like he's just kind of doing stuff and it happens to work. It's not so much.
Well, in the novel, and again in the musical, which is very faithful to most degrees to the novel, is he has tricks that he has learned because he's brilliant that are essentially stage magic, but they're convinced people that he is a ghost. Right. He uses two-way mirrors. He does this thing. He has the noose that he can loop over things, so it's like people are being hung in midair by nothing. So he has these tricks, but they're explained as tricks. Here we have a literal deal with the devil that has given him immortality and powers, and that's different.
The deal with the devil is just a catch-all too in the movie. It's just like anything he does, devil powers, right? Like it's
devil
just
powers. Yeah, I bet the writers did sit there going like, "Should we explain it?" No, just devil powers. Doesn't matter. The audience will pick it up. Devil power.
And actually, for the most part, in watching it, I did kind of let it slide because I was digging the vibe of the movie.
Yeah,
it's kind of more now that I'm going like,
I didn't sit there and.
No,
really only the Richard being repelled by this beautiful fiddle was the thing that made me go. Okay, I mean, the movie's still going. Sure, but that's
that
weird.
One. Yeah, I did hit on that one too, where it's like, huh? Okay, movie, sure, and
I'm along for the ride.
She gets in the carriage that's waiting for her, and he brings her underground. This is also where we meet one of my favorite characters, the rat catcher. Oh, I'll catch them rats.
Who, because he has some other part to play later in the movie, should have been introduced earlier. Because here, I'm like, I get what he is. I know he's the rat catcher, but connection with him and the Phantom is not made clear.
Like, I thought he was going to die.
Yeah, I thought he
stumbled upon, right? Because they start...
Found the lair.
The Phantom.
The Phantom
starts playing music, and Christine starts singing, and I'm like, oh, this rat catcher's going to... No, he just is like...
Yeah. Well, later on we find that he works for him. Later on we find out, and I'm like, what? Okay.
So this guy's name is Yehuda Ifrani. I'm sure I mispronounced that. He's an Israeli actor who is in like every canon movie. This has got to be a Golan friend. Golan also Israeli, but this guy is in like the Delta Force and American Ninja and stuff like that. Like all
he does a fine job as a rat catcher. I believe him every step of the way.
He's fine in this, yeah. But I think this has just got to be like, Yehuda, you'll be the rat catcher in this one. Sure, yeah, whatever, you know.
I like he's like going. Actually, I'm doing movie for your friend Globus. Sorry, too busy with the Globus.
I'm in the Globus Lambada movie because do you remember when they both released Lambada movies?
Yeah,
they came out the same day after they split. They were Canon was developing a movie about the Lambada, the Forbidden Dance, right?
Well, one of the movies was called Lambada, the Forbidden Dance, and the other one was called just Lambada.
I think it was just Lambada. And so when they split, they both went and made their own Lambada movie, and then they put them
and they released them within a week.
No, they literally came out the same day.
Same day.
Exact same day.
Incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's one of the best parts of the. And I've recommended it before, but I highly recommend Electric Boogaloo.
Electric Boogaloo is a great
story of
documentary.
Canon Films about it is one of the most entertaining documentaries about filmmaking you'll ever see. About these two weird Israeli guys in the empire they built and then ultimately destroyed. So I highly recommend it. And it gets into, I mean, you know, I'm sure this is mentioned because this is when they went separately. Neither one of them did well without the other. They never reached the heights of that. I mean, Golan lost it all on this movie. So
just like Lennon McCartney, when they split, neither one of them had any hits. It all just went...
Brendan, actually there's a couple things I want to point you to. Have you heard of the band Wings at all?
Yeah, but it has nothing to do with what I was just talking about.
Ooh, no.
Yeah.
So she goes. Yes. He takes her into his. I actually thought this set was pretty cool. I thought his lair was pretty cool.
Lair is great.
Yeah, as a set, and I don't think this. I mean, if it was built for $3
that guy goes through a lot of candles.
He really does. He really does. And then we'll talk about the candle wax later in the movie that injured actors on set, which they talk about, and you can see it. So he brings her down here, and she immediately goes like, "Oh, this is the opera you wrote," and he's like, "But how do you know the words?
How do you know those words?"
Because they just start performing it.
Yeah, they're just hanging. I mean, right now, again, he has killed several people up to this point, but like right now, they're just vibing. Like it's just
he's a pretty good guy if you ignore music. The vicious murders we've seen him commit.
Yes.
The absolutely horrific
but then
murders.
He basically like tricks a wedding ring onto her finger. And
it's that devil ring.
Yeah.
And he's
we're
trying
both
to
cursed
kind of
now
bind her soul to him for all of time.
It's a move, man. It's a move to just covertly slip a ring onto a woman's finger.
Yeah, no, that's sort of existential soul rape. But I'm just saying,
that's the first time we've said that on this show.
I've never tried it.
Yeah,
but
good,
I know
Brendan.
that's a play.
Good that you've never tried it. Yeah, that's still single, ladies.
You will love me because the devil gave me this ring.
Too late. The ring's on your finger.
Yikes.
I guess we're together for eternity.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Take the ring off. Oh, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, that's all she. That's all she has to do, and that's all she does do.
Well, I mean, like later in the movie though, we see her struggling to take it off in several places.
Yeah.
Like it's another thing where like, does the ring have powers? I think it does.
I mean, and it was interesting to me. Like, there's a lot of folklore around like rings that can't be taken off.
Yes.
Yes.
And so.
And also red shoes that make you dance till you die.
Yeah.
For the crossover of Monster fans and Powell Pressburger fans.
The folk tales of E.T.A. Hoffman? Come on, man. But The Red Shoes is a great movie, by the way, speaking of Powell Pressburger.
I know it's based on a thing, but I adore that movie, of course. As
Powell Pressburger movies, just if you guys have never dipped a toe, dip more than a toe.
Life and Death of Colonel Blimp, great movie.
Yes, absolutely.
Great movie. Probably my favorite of theirs. Black Narcissus.
Yes. Stairway to Heaven, or as it was known there, I think it was A Matter of Life and Death with David Niven. Great.
Yep. Anyway. Talking about movies from decades ago.
Peeping Tom, which I was begging to put in our slashers thing.
Yes, we did talk about Peeping. That might be included. I don't know. Did they remake that?
They didn't remake it, no.
Well, then it doesn't count. Anyway, so let's So they go, now the inspector's talking to Richard, and he goes, yeah, take a look at these crime scene photos here. Pretty brutal shit. And it's just like, he goes, but every one of these people seems connected to Christine somehow. It's almost as if someone's killing in her name.
Yeah, big leaps of brilliant detective work, but that's just because the time is ticking away in the movie.
You read the script.
Yeah. I've seen the last couple scenes seem to put this together for me, and
I've been watching the dailies, and I've come up with a theory.
Has anyone looked into this Phantom character?
I think he enters in their dreams.
Yeah.
Oh wait, wrong movie.
You were watching the wrong dailies.
Yeah. Oh right, and I looked it up actually. This year it came out. It was actually 5. It was the Dream Master that came out this year.
Dream Master. Not the worst. Not the best.
Not the worst, not the best. Yeah, I 100% agree. That's right in the middle of the road there.
Mm-hmm.
But so now that Christine is, and like, right, Robert Englund has, like, I will kill you, anybody that you try to, like.
Well, because doesn't he let her go, but he's like, but hey, just promise me, like, you're not going to do anybody else.
Yeah.
He basically, I mean, the dialogue gets really blunt, and it is like,
you'll not be with another or something like that?
Yeah. It's like, you can't be with anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm your man.
Your chains are still mine.
Yeah.
You will sing for me.
Yeah.
I know I said I wouldn't do it, but it's so hard not to.
I know, I hear you.
There's gonna
it's going to be real bad when we're doing the actual movie.
So much more of that.
It's going to be so
exactly.
bad.
Yeah. And also, much more Joel Schumacher talk.
Yeah.
This is a new episode of Schumacher Talk.
Shoe talk.
Yeah. Talk about Shoe. Because that's where we can talk about Schumacher and my beloved Elizabeth Shue.
And if we end up talking about Schumacher, then there'll be a crossover with Phantom of the Opera and Jill Schoelen, because she was in DC Cab, which was Joel Schumacher's filmic debut.
Mm-hmm. And it all gets us back to Batman, of course, though.
It does. For better or
yeah.
But so Christine is fiddling with this ring. She's trying to get it off. She's freaking out about the Phantom, about Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells Meg to send Richard away because he comes to call for her again.
Right. Yeah, because she's going like, I do love Richard, but this Phantom guy will 100% murder him.
Yeah, like 100% murk this dude.
I don't fully understand why she loves Richard, but whatever. The movie tells me.
Because they've been given no time together. Mm-hmm. They've had one dinner scene where he's like, Richard, you were great.
Yeah.
Richard hasn't murdered anyone.
No, that's
he's doing really well.
It's all in comparison. He's an absolute nothing character, but at least he's not a murderer, is basically this movie's attitude.
That's what I'm saying.
And Bill Nighy, I think, is just gone from the movie. Oh, we will see him briefly
shows up at the masquerade, right? That's the next thing. The next big thing that happens is Christine does have to go to this masquerade.
This is all. I do want to quickly mention, though, that they're talking about the legend of which I don't understand how people know the rules of the Phantom and stuff like this, because this is where they're going like
the only way to kill him is to destroy his music. Like, how do you know who this guy is?
Yeah. Well, this is what I heard. Like this sort of thing
the
where it's like the legend of the Phantom.
I mean, in the book, they know all the folklore stuff that he has disseminated through like the people who work at the theater.
Yeah,
that's where those
it's all concentrated in the theater because that's where he lives.
Right, and the fact that
he barely is there in this movie.
Not until late in his story does he present a work that he has written. So they don't. They think he's a fan, an opera fan ghost. Right. But they don't know he's a composer. So here, it seems like it's public knowledge that the opera ghost is also a composer.
Yeah.
But of course, that's what's so great about
I don't 100% remember if this is like the thing in the book, but like right in the musical, like at the very end when everybody when shit's going to hell and the police do come and everyone's like, yeah, it's the opera ghost, and the police are like, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. That's just a dude.
Yeah.
By the way,
don't do this. Have you guys been dealing with this the whole
time? Elliot, I know that you've been a guest a few times. I would like you to watch the language, though. So if you could just,
yes,
because you said when the Dookie is going to HE double hockey sticks.
This is a children's program.
Yeah, I'm just
kids
saying.
love Robert
I like your
Englund
enthusiasm.
movies.
Let's just scale it back a little bit, okay? Because the little fuckers out there, they don't want to hear. Oh,
there he goes.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Don't ever fucking tell me what to do again.
sorry,
Brendan.
I'm sorry.
Brendan, your potty mouth.
My chains are still yours.
Yeah.
I will sing for you, Elliott.
Let's talk about the
you better keep your hand at the level of your eyes.
Yeah. We're at the masquerade party now at the opera house.
We're all
who knows where this thing is? It's
we
somewhere.
actually don't know, but I assume it's the opera house.
I think it is. I think it is
what we're all waiting for.
It's the opera house set, at least, I think.
Yeah. We're all waiting for him to show up in the Red Death outfit, which he does.
It looks really good.
It does look good.
It looks cool. The thing this movie does deliver on is the creepy bits, no notes on that stuff. They do the Red Death outfit rules. So he comes in. He makes an entrance, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's really. I do think this Phantom is weird, and this was something I thought about throughout the whole movie. This is a Phantom that is just milling about, right?
Well,
he's walking the streets a lot. There's not a lot of what I think of the Phantom is sort of slinking about in hidden tunnels and things like that. Instead, this guy's just doobity-doo, walking down the street.
Well, this guy has this makeup thing where he's stitching a reasonable-looking normal face on, and so he doesn't necessarily have to hide.
Right.
But so we don't get him just because Eric in the books is using those tunnels. Because it's not just under the opera house; it's a whole river. So he goes wherever he needs to, but underneath, and then knows the ways up.
And he's going around the streets.
Yes. So he's doing that, but here he is in this scene. In all the classic Phantom of the Opera stuff, he stops this thing cold with his appearance.
He does,
and he just has this mask on. In this thing, he shows up, and people do go, "Well, damn." But they all just assume he's somebody else. He even goes down and dances with Christine. I mean, it's just he's just one of the
He dances
party.
with Carlotta, too.
He dances with Carlotta, which is apparently how he's able to get her back into an alcove, start sexing her up, and then chop her head off. And somehow get the head into a punch bowl without anyone seeing that he just put soup bowl.
It is a soup bowl. It is a soup bowl. And I don't care if it doesn't make sense. I loved this moment so much.
Right, because I'm waiting for it, because I know it's gonna duh. And they keep opening the little platters, and I'm like, no,
and here's the thing with the blah blah blah. This has this, and then you're like, okay, which one has the head?
Where's the head?
Yeah, I love that they brought in a special effects makeup crew just to do this. They talked to the guy on it. A guy who specialized in severed heads. And they go, so they called me up and they said, we got to put a head in a soup bowl. So anyway, I flew over there to Romania and figured it out. I love it. But
it does look good.
It does?
Yeah.
It looks great.
It does.
I do love her moment before he kills her where they go off together and she goes, she's all horned up and she's like, I have to see that face.
I just have to know who this man is I've been dancing with.
Who is this big man?
This strapping gentleman.
And then when he takes the mask off, we just hear her scream on the cut. That's a good move too. I always like scream. The scream,
but also no one hears it over the music and the general frolicking.
Yes, we are having a good time. And Bill Nighy though is just pissed throughout this whole thing, man.
Oh yeah, nothing's going right for him.
Well, especially
his character's name is Martin Barton, so
is it? I didn't.
Yes, I was looking when I was looking at the IMDb for trivia and stuff. I was like, dude's name is Martin.
I am
Barton?
glad that is never called to attention.
No,
Martin Barton.
You should have. Whoever wrote that was hopefully fine. Hopefully that's from.
And with my partner Richard Pritchard.
Yeah. I think trying to avoid rhyming names unless it's a joke or something is.
Never rhyme unless you're going for the big funny
good advice. Yeah, Martin Barton. God damn it.
It's bad.
Yeah, he's not. Bill Nighy's not taking a movie today where he has to play Martin Barton.
Yeah.
But essentially, his thing is he is pissed off, and then they discover Carlotta's head in the soup, and he gets his big. I mean, because the guy can act. He sells the moment where he just collapses on the staircase like my life is ruined, and it's a good moment.
Yeah.
The camera does kind of a pull back, and he's just like, oh my God. Right?
Before this, I forgot I have it written here. There's the rat catchers at this masquerade.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. That's when the rat catcher's like, hey, I know where the Phantom is because I work for him.
Because the inspector's just milling about and going like, you don't seem like you belong here.
He has a masquerade mask on, but he's still wearing his rat catcher thing. So that means
and he's of course jamming food in his pockets.
He is basically, this is a weird screenwriter idea that he has gotten into the masquerade ball to get free food.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just happens to end up talking to the police
I was going to say, it's
inspector.
also a lazy screenwriter thing, right? Because he also is just like,
I happen to know where he lives.
Excuse me, officer. I have plenty of exposition for you.
I know where he's taken the pretty lady.
Excuse me, Inspector. Don't you think it's about time we started the third act?
He does go. He just points to his watch. Time's a wasting, Inspector.
We're over an hour into this thing. It's time to start wrapping it up.
We're also going to have to jump to the modern day soon.
Hey, Inspector, I just happened to be looking at the script, and I figured it was time for the third act.
Jeez,
normally I only highlight my own lines, but I wanted to see what happened. I can help you.
Yeah, so...
with everything except for when it goes to 1989 because I'm stuck in the 19th century.
I get killed in like 10 minutes, so you only got me till then.
Menachem told me to,
Starting to Menachem on the weekend. Lovely gentleman.
So... In the panic over the head in the soup, the Phantom grabs Christine and kidnaps her.
Scoops her up.
Yeah, takes her down to the lair.
Down once
and
more to the dungeon.
And then pretty quickly tries to rape her. Because he's just like, well, we're doing this now. I may only get one chance at this, so I'm going.
Track down this rapist. He must be found. Track down this rapist. And they do. Pretty quickly.
Yeah. They do, because they were like, oh, he's under the thing, and here's a manhole. Let's go. And I do love the quick line where the inspector says to Richie, goes, oh, well, this is technically police business, so you don't have to come. Oh, shut up. We're both going down here.
This whole thing, too, where if you know the story, you're waiting for certain beats. You're waiting for, I'm playing you a piece of music, and you are curious, and you will rip the mask off. Mm-hmm. And we get sort of a version of it, but it has more to do with getting the magic ring off and Richard showing up and dying. He goes up in flames.
The third act of the movie.
Fuck on fire.
They set the fuck on fire.
The third act of the movie, or at least the third act of the past stuff, is a little weak for me.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it takes them a really long time to get through the sewer bit.
Yeah.
Like, longer than I think is necessary.
And then when they get there, it all wraps up in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Very classic, like, Universal kind of pacing, because that's usually how these old Universal movies would go. A lot of build up to the climax that then is over instantly. Instantly,
and then credits roll.
Well,
idea of, like... No, like, oh, I'm so glad you found me, Richard, Raoul. Those Universal movies don't even get like the surviving couple saying anything to each other. It's just
that 31 Dracula is in such a hurry to be over. Yeah, like it's just like anyway, Dracula's dead. Bye.
Bang. The end.
Yeah, it's like I gotta beat the credits. So yeah, they here they come. They go down the sewers. What stops the rape is he can hear them shouting for Christine. He's like, hold on. I got to go kill these guys, but then we're getting it on.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the thing through the sewers is a lot of we're here. Where's the Phantom? Oh, he's behind us. He's over. There's a lot of sort of we're in a maze kind of thing with it, and it
it kind of drags a little bit.
There's no reason for it.
It's effective initially, and then it
for sure. But like you know, if we're gonna have the Phantom picking these dudes off one by one until it's just, you know, Ralphie Phantom, then let's do that.
Yeah. Right. Do you kind of like him impaling the bum? The rat catcher.
The rat catcher.
Yeah, that's not bad.
You've always been pro impaling bums.
Which is like the most problematic thing about you. It's
I know.
kind of a bummer.
Look,
we overlook it because we're your friends. But
I have a solution.
Your most toxic trait.
I have a solution to the homeless problem. It's gonna be controversial, but it will be effective.
Okay, Wheeler.
Hey, insider local political stuff.
Yeah. If we consider
everyone's favorite bastard mayor.
Love him. Love our mayor.
For those of you listening to us around the world,
come and get me, Theodore. I'm waiting.
Elliott has laid out all the clues you need to know of where we live. Okay.
I gave you all the clues, Mr. Policeman. You could have saved him. I just watched that movie for the first time the other day. It's bad.
Which
really movie is that?
Snowman.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
It's
good, and you don't need to.
It's terrible, and it's such a bummer because like everyone involved is crazy talented.
Yeah, and and again, it's not even like an enjoyable bad. No, unfortunately,
it's incompetent bad.
I think if ever there was a thing of going away from the source material, maybe I would change the character's name from Harry Hole to something else.
Yeah, that's not really the.
His name is Harry Hole.
Yeah. Damn.
Even when I was selling the novels to people at Powell's, I was like, Harry Hole.
And they said, yeah, what about it? And then you
those
stared
books
at each other.
Sell and sell, but that movie, yes, apparently is awful. And
it is awful. And I've read some of the books. They're not bad.
All right. Let's not have this fight.
I like my Nordic noirs, sir.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So then we get this. There's just this other cop who's total cannon fodder down here.
Oh
yeah.
But also he maybe shoots the Phantom and it does nothing. I can't tell.
I can't tell. That was also weirdly telegraphed.
Yeah, I couldn't. It's one of those things where it's like I couldn't tell if he was missing or if the Phantom wasn't. It seemed like he hit him a couple times and nothing happened. And that was like, haha, you can only kill him by destroying his music. But then later, he's just taking bullets.
Yeah.
Yeah. He gets riddled.
Yeah, so I don't know. This is where they are very inconsistent with their powers on the Phantom.
Yeah.
So anyway, I do like that he gets a net dropped on him.
Yeah.
That's weird.
That's the end of him.
Oh no, sorry, wait. He gets his throat slit. It's the main inspector who gets the net dropped on him.
Oh, yeah. I was sort of tuning out at this point because it was taking way too long.
I do love that it's just like he's rigged up a net down there. The Phantom's like, this will get him. I've been prepared for this scene.
It's in keeping. Traps. Yeah, that's in keeping with the character, and that has nothing to do with devil powers.
Yeah, the trap maker.
He just likes traps.
He loves a trap.
But it's just a net. It's a little cartoony for me. This is the guy I did not understand what he did to. He puts his hand into the guy.
Yeah.
And did he pull out his heart?
Maybe, but that was probably in the X-rated cut.
Well, he holds up something, but I couldn't. It seems small to be a heart. I couldn't. He pulls out some kind of organ that we don't get a good look at. I had to
write that angry letter to the.
It was confusing. And he rips out something vital, I guess. But also now,
I need to know what organ was pulled out of this man.
Now we've got more Phantom super strength, though. Where I go, why was he ever using a knife if he can just punch into people's chest cavities?
Yeah.
Like it seems like he could just have ripped that guy's head off at the beginning.
Yeah.
In the middle,
True.
Like I don't know, like. Once again, scene by scene.
The inconsistency is a little.
He's not
annoying.
good at using his own powers. So now it comes down to the final thing here with. Oh yeah, they do. Oh, I did think this was a little wild. Richard finds the rat catcher with rats having chewed up his face, but he only died like a couple minutes ago. Those rats were right on him. Those rats were right on him, and they really chewed up the face in just a couple minutes. Like, an army of rats got him, and they're gone too. There are no rats around when Richard finds it, of course.
They're hungry little guys.
Okay. No more cute cartoon voices.
So they bust in on the Phantom, who grabs Christine. Oh yeah, they do basically do the just like, nobody get closer, I'll fucking kill her. You know, like
Yeah.
Just be cool, man. Just be cool.
Just be cool.
We're all friends. We're gonna talk this out, all right? Just put the gun down. Like,
who's cool? Fonzie. Fonzie's cool. Be like Fonzie.
Yeah. We're just two cool guys. Going back to Speed.
Yeah.
I guess I don't know who got hit by the net then. Now that I see this, because the inspector, the main inspector is still alive here because he's gonna get knocked down the stairs but survive, so he can shoot the Phantom.
Yes.
Because Richard shoots the Phantom in the arm, which is what leads him to let go of Christine. And then, yes, this is where the Phantom stabs him, but primarily uses it to push him against a bunch of candles and light him on fire.
Yeah, this sort of a big standing candelabra-looking thing.
Because Raoul, unfortunately,
is also flammable.
To the masquerade, wore his most flammable jacket.
Yes.
It really goes up.
He does. He goes up like a Colt Seavers stunt, and goes right into the drink.
Alex Hyde White does talk about he said, I was very nervous about that the whole shoot that was coming up, that I was gonna have to do that. Now he got lit on fire briefly, and then it was a stunt guy who ends up going into off the thing, of course, but he did have to get close. He goes, that was too close for that fire. And
it's somewhere in this final confrontation where Jill Schoelen got dripped,
she got burned by molten wax.
It's at the end of it where when she pushes the candle over
into the mirror,
and you can see it because it's in slow motion. You see the candle wax splash up and hit her in the arm, actually, in the movie, because she talked about those things had been burning for hours by the time, and nobody thought, well, let's make sure that there isn't just pooled up wax. Nope. Good stuff.
Time.
Menachem Golan says, you don't need to look into that. That would cost money.
She's fine. She's fine.
She's fine. A little burn, but she's fine. Whatever. We give her a Band-Aid. She does that. He gets shot a bunch of times. It doesn't really matter. Anyway.
It doesn't matter. She gets the ring off.
She shatters the mirror, and that sends us back to present day.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but it does.
We really don't know. And it's one of those things, was it all a dream?
Yeah.
Because she's right where she was on the stage, and there's our good friend Miss Shannon, and she's going, "Are you okay, Chris? Chris, you all right?" And the casting director's like, "Are you okay?" And then who comes up?
Why, it's
Robert Englund,
our handsome producer, Robert Englund.
He looks
very
totally
80s
normal
looking Robert Englund.
Yeah, he's very 80s. He's got ponytail. He's got his glasses.
Mm-hmm.
And she got the part.
Yeah, he goes, I sure hope you're okay, because you're going to be a big part of our new opera.
You want to go hang out with me? But let's go to my apartment first.
Nothing suspicious about that. A producer.
Nothing bad ever happened in this apartment.
The producer of the show says, come to my apartment. Yeah.
She's woken up from possibly, I don't know, a seizure, or maybe she has a concussion.
Hey, nobody asks her what day it is or who the president is.
Instead, you got Molly Shannon saying, I'm her agent, and I'm going to talk to you, casting director. And then you have the underwriter, the producer, who's Robert Englund, going, they're going to be talking contract stuff for hours. Let's go to my place.
And we're once again back to, now we had a somewhat faithful adaptation of Phantom of the Opera in the middle section of this movie, but now we're back to, I have absolutely no idea where this movie's going.
Yeah. I have a good idea, though, at this point.
I mean, I have assumptions, but it is like, okay, we're now out of the realm of the Phantom story.
Like, I will be honest, like, I thought that the movie was going to end with him, with the, like, they're going to be talking contract stuff for hours. Let's go, because he's like, come to dinner with me or something, but let's go back to my apartment to freshen up. I thought that was going to be, like, the, well, not obviously not the Andrew Lloyd Webber's
and Andrew
but like that
Sue.
was going to be the credits. Like, oh, what's going to happen now? Yeah. But then it kept going.
Yeah, I didn't expect. There's like a whole. There's like 2/3 acts in this movie. It's crazy. Because they go back to his place and he goes, I'm just gonna go upstairs and change my clothes, baby. Like he's really trying to play him like I'm a slick producer type.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay, well, I'll just be here looking through all your stuff.
Yeah.
Just sit on the couch like a normal person and wait.
Yeah.
No, that way she wouldn't have seen what he had because she has to find
He's got a whole computer.
Very Phantom of the Paradise like composition area, which is computers and synthesizers set up in a semicircle kind of like desk thing. And she's looking at it and, oh my God, there's a computer. Oh, she puts a disc. This is very presumptuous, by the way. You're in a stranger's house, but she takes a diskette and puts it in the computer. Up comes a computerized version of the Don Juan Triumphant score, which starts to play because it's composition software.
Yep.
And she's like, oh my God.
And this is intercut with Robert Englund upstairs, and he has found a flaw, some rip in his makeup.
He had it on for more
opens
than
his like
90 minutes.
cryo container with all of his latex mask things.
Yep.
The devil, I'm going to say the devil really got the short end of the stick on this one because like was not planning on people really upping the game when it came to prosthetic facial.
Yeah, I like I mean, like, several years before this, he just cracked this, and he's living a fairly normal and successful life at this point. So,
at this point, he probably can go, like a day, maybe, like just out and about in the world. Probably can get with all the ladies he wants.
I mean, let's assume he put this mask on in the morning.
Alone has got to cost like $9,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I do love the fact that that deal was about his music living forever, and I guess he does too.
Yeah, that also
he just can't be satisfied ever.
Yeah.
But I'm like, his music lives forever? Because still to this day, Eric Dessler's
pretty obscure. That's
very obscure to the point where she's like, oh my God, I've heard legends of this, but he found a couple of sheets
and
of
all the power he has, he can't get this going. Because I guess he's waiting for his star.
We're getting into like the nitpicking and stuff, but he clearly, he changed his name, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
Like, because, he murdered a bunch of people and like more or less got caught. Like,
now he's
in the history books.
In the name Eric Dessler, you would never know.
Yeah. But that name is synonymous, which I don't understand how it is because nobody survived, but whatever.
Well, I mean,
the inspector survived.
Yeah, the inspector survived.
Oh, that's true.
He got pushed down the stairs, but
they talked about he killed 10 people in 1880s England or whatever.
Yeah, so
and he was obsessed
the name
with
Eric
this woman,
Dressler is synonymous with this event that happened. So I'm just assuming that he became, because he is successful in his work in modern New York because he lives in this bonkers ass apartment with all of this electronic equipment. So and he's working on an opera. So clearly he is at least moderately famous as a composer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the thing that weirds me out then. I don't really understand what all. Anyway. And so he hears that and she's like, oh no, it's playing. Oh, he's gonna hear. And we see all the things and he comes downstairs. He's like, oh good, you found it. Yes, Christine. And immediately drops any kind of freedom. He's like, I've been waiting for you for centuries.
I've been waiting for you to come back to me, and we will be together forever.
And initially,
love and music.
Yeah.
Are the only things that are forever.
He kisses her.
Love never dies.
Oh, stop it.
Then,
stop it.
Yes, it does. He
it takes a silver bullet to kill love.
I know. So be it.
Yeah.
And
worth it.
So she fights back immediately. I guess if nothing else, the flashback to her previous life, she's now kind of instructed. So she's like, fuck you, man, and she is fighting, which is great.
She goes like she's gonna kiss him, and then this is where they do the Phantom of the Opera classic, where she rips the latex,
his face right off,
and now he's
Pandora.
He's even more burned and possibly decomposed or something.
He looks like freaking Frank from Hellraiser.
Yeah,
it's like this is not what he looked like, but sure.
No, this is black and goopy. So maybe it is a decaying thing. Who knows?
Well, and also she started the fire in his lair. Maybe that burned him more or something. I don't really know.
Good point.
But also, maybe it is festering burns across centuries.
Sure.
I don't know.
All we know is these were filmed after the main filming of the movie. So,
which I think also is a lot of the reason why there's not a lot of good connection between the two things. It's
true.
Like it was never really meant to be that.
But
they wrote a killer sequel.
This is where she does definitively off him, or as definitive as this movie's going to get, because she does burn that music.
Yeah, burns it up good. He's like,
the diskette too, not just the paper version. She burns up that diskette.
She puts the diskette in a sewer.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. It doesn't burn up. She runs out to the street for some reason and shoves it down in the sewer.
It's like break it first. Come on.
But also, if I'm the Phantom and I know the only way to kill me is to destroy my music, and now it's 1989, I've got copies of my music stashed everywhere, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, like, the idea that the only copies of his music are here on disc and on paper, and that's it?
Yeah.
That's just bad Phantom.
Yeah.
That's just bad fan. That's on him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, she walks outside. There's a guy playing violin, and it switches to the Phantom music?
Yeah.
I don't... this is one of those where I go, like, I understand horror movie. You want an ominous ending, but I don't fully understand what I'm supposed to take from this.
The street violinist has his face shadowed by his floppy hat.
I thought he was going to look up and be Robert Englund, and that was going to be the last beat. Yeah.
But the music never dies, so maybe it's just the music?
The only way to kill the Phantom is to destroy his music, but also music never dies, so...
Yeah. But it is just meant to be a bum.
Yeah, until we get the Phantom of Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
Oof.
Maybe it would have been good. I don't know. It probably wouldn't have been, though. I know Robert Englund said it was a beautiful script, but...
well, I guess we could watch Dance Macabre for...
I kind of want to watch Dance Macabre, actually, after I read that. I'm like, I don't know, man. Number one, I will watch almost anything that Robert Englund's in. I just love the guy.
That's true.
He will elevate schlock. Like, that's the thing. It's like, he's one of those guys, like a lot of guys we talk about on this show, Brendan, where it's like, they'll be good even if the movie's a piece of shit.
Oh, yeah. And that's actually very common with character actors whose career ends them in genre stuff.
Yeah.
That they never quite get the leg up into the respectable thing. But it doesn't matter. They're so good that they treat whatever direct they're in like that was their big shot.
But I mean,
and you respect them. You're like, God damn,
that was
you
Lee
could
and
have
Cushing.
sleptwalked through this, but you didn't.
That was Lee and Cushing back in the Hammer movies. That was Vincent Price.
Yeah, it's like, look, I know The Fly Part 2 is shit, but I'm going to end up in it.
But do I own the Shout Factory box set of all the Fly movies? You bet I do.
It's not The Fly Part 2. It was, what was it?
I think it's Return of the Fly. Yeah, it is. Because I do have that box set.
Sure, the first one's great.
The first one's great. And the box set does include the Cronenberg movie. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Which is, of course, the best version, obviously.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it also has The Fly 2.
Yeah.
Not as good.
You mean Eric Stoltz's Finest Hour?
Man, Eric Stoltz. Talented dude. A lot of bad career moves.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the end of the Phantom of the Opera from 1989. No sequel. I thought pretty
but yeah,
entertaining.
Like I know that we got a little nitpicky in the actual rundown of the plot. But like again, like we said at the beginning, this movie is pretty good.
Yeah, it's
fun.
I wasn't this most of the stuff we nitpicked on is stuff that we collectively are talking about after the fact. When I was watching it last night, most of this just flew by to me and I was actually really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I think that I'm not going to go so far as to say this is like a hidden gem, but it is like it deserves a little bit more attention than it has, is what I'll say. Like,
yes.
We certainly have changed, I think both of us doing the podcast, we've changed what our parameters are. This one I would recommend, still knowing that it's not a great film.
No, but it's good.
It's worth a look.
Yeah.
If you're like us and you enjoy the echoes of classic stories being reinterpreted, this is another one that I didn't feel really shat on the original, but it's just its own weird 1980s take with a very good actor at the center.
Yeah, and if you're a fan of Robert Englund, definitely give this movie a watch. Like, you know, it's not as
it's not as bad
campy as Nightmare, but like it's a great performance from Robert Englund.
This isn't that character. The Phantom was never going to be Freddy. He's not out there like.
I mean, that was the whole appeal of it to Robert Englund. So you know, like, and I do love the final thing on the documentary. Of course, they're talking about how the movie really bombed, and almost everybody's going, I think in the end it was just too violent. We just overdid it. It's pretty sickening. And then it gets to Robert Englund and goes, I just wanted to show the horror fans that the Phantom could be pretty gnarly, man.
And
I just love that everybody's going, it's too violent. Robert Englund's like, no problem for me. It kind of ruled. Like,
I think like
fucking 20 years later, we had Hostel come out. So
yeah, I know. I think that is part of what you were talking about, Elliot, when you said this thing doesn't read that violent. It's like, we've seen some truly nasty shit.
Yeah,
this thing is it's to me it is operatic in its violence. It is very over the top blood and stuff like that. I don't read it as truly realistic.
It's this is a thin point to make, but the violence here, unlike in a lot of the really nihilistic slasher stuff, especially torture porn stuff like with Saw and Hostel and things like that, this is for a purpose. In other words, when Eric's killing, it is directly tied into his goals and the furthering of his obsession with love. It's not, I've stumbled across teenagers having sex, or I just love to eviscerate people. It is a purposeful part of plot and not the plot itself.
It comes out of character,
I mean, the violence, you realize that a lot of people take the classic stuff of that period, the classic genre fiction, and obviously what the Hammer did it too. Universal did it. What you do is you try to boost it for modern audiences, whether that's the 30s, 40s, or whatever, by upping all those genre things. You make it bloodier. You make it more exciting, because on the page it's allowed to be a Victorian novel that sort of drifts along and has a lot of prosaic prose in it. Instead, this is of a piece. Got no problem with the Phantom offing more people as long as it makes sense to the fucking plot.
Hey, my attitude is always higher body counts on this show.
So, but that's you.
That's me. I'm a sicko.
Yeah, for Victorian people, a deformed dude stalking a lady was titillating enough.
Yeah, a guy in a mask who's revealed to not have a nose. That's all you need.
We'd like him to take a couple heads off, by modern standards, if he could lop a couple heads off, it's pretty good.
Dude, if you showed a Victorian dude this movie, he would probably die on the spot.
He would.
No.
He would think he was watching an actual snuff film.
Yeah.
Dear God, I can't believe you killed a man for the sake of theater. We didn't. That's just a very good effect.
Wow.
Yeah.
This dude's crazy.
Well,
that's a nice little window into Elliott's life.
Guy's intense, man. Okay, well, next week, Brendan, is the season finale. We're finally leaving the 1980s. Does it feel like we've been here for about 6 years? I feel like the 80s has been a long trek. Yeah, more so than the 70s.
I think also because we had a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
Which, where we had a lot of sequels, and we'll keep going down that road.
But we're getting whole new franchises next season.
Yeah, multiple Howlings. Like, okay, great.
The Howlings continue. Like, we don't get out of the Howlings till the mid-2000s.
We got two Teen Wolves.
We did. We got
in
two
the season.
Teen Wolves
So let's.
In the 80s. But where are we going? We're just America's going Phantom crazy.
They can't get enough.
Next week on the show, we're welcoming our friend Michael Listman from the Action Shelf, and he's going to be watching Phantom of the Mall: Eric's Revenge.
Because if there's one thing Gaston Leroux, when he wrote the original, he just didn't have. He had the concept, but he didn't know how to formalize. I would love it if he was able to attack people in a commercial setting where there are many stores, perhaps juice bars or some sort
of the marketplace.
Yeah, where they do other operas, but on a screen. I don't know. I'm just having these flashes. He's going to the mall.
Boy, if we thought this was kind of a surprisingly faithful adaptation, I do like that we are going to get our very 80s take on it by setting it in a mall.
I am looking forward to it because this is one I've never seen before.
Me neither.
I'm looking forward to it because this does sound batshit stupid. So
it really does. I watched the trailer the other night and it looks pretty stupid. This one is easier to find, and I will say if you have the Arrow Video streaming app, which I recommend if you're a fan of cult and horror stuff. It is on there for free, or I mean with the subscription, but it's on there. But yeah, Phantom of the Mall, Eric's Revenge. We're gonna have a guest next week, and that will wrap things up. And then, as you said, Brendan, going into next season, we have Phantom of the Opera this week, Phantom of the Mall next week, then a Howling movie, then we're right back into a 2-part television movie of Phantom of the Opera, with the great Charles Dance.
Phantom Fever.
Love Charles Dance.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Love
Charles Dance is the Phantom. So that's. But next week on the show, it's Phantom of the Mall. Elliott, always a pleasure to have you. Of course.
Thank you for letting
Elliott.
me
You're the best. And I don't know if it got part of the recording. It probably didn't. But I'm just going to say, Elliott, you're going to have to sing us out of this one and possibly sing on every podcast because you have a lovely voice.
Thank you.
We'll just have Elliott record the end of every episode. Because that'd
be great.
Going to do it for this week's episode of Campbell and Jones Meet the Monsters. I'm John Campbell.
I'm Brendan Jones.
And remember, there are such things as monsters. We're the Dream Warriors.
Well, that's good, too.
Is that going to do it?
That'll do.
That's what you wanted.
Yeah, but I wanted Elliott, too.
Oh.
Next time, maybe Music of the Night. That's how you'll close out when we do Phantom 2040.